Hello everybody, this is Crisis and I am welcoming you to my first haul around the world in quite some time, and the first time I have played guitar in over 6 weeks for even a second, because oh boy, do I have some things to catch you up on. So first of all, hello, it's so wonderful to see you. I have not been on the internet in this fashion since the end of October, so this is lovely, really. So the second thing is, can you hear me and see me clearly? Because I am on a new computer, not the new computer. Uh-oh, I'm hearing something, hearing echoes. Echoes of me. Yeah, why would the volume automatically turn up when I told it shut the fuck up earlier? Oh, now we're cursing in the first minute. YouTube's not gonna like that. Okay, let's try again. Here we go. Oh, no! Okay, hi. So, can you see and hear me clearly? Let's start with that, and then we'll move on to more advanced topics. So yes, this is a new computer. It is not the new Mac I so fervently desired, but that's because they don't exist yet. But I needed something because the other computer was dying. So now it's much wider. I have to think about stuff that's happening much farther off screen. So there's that. And there's also, I don't have to do a face reveal because for literally the first time in my entire life at this moment, I am wearing contact lenses. I don't really like the experience, but I could see my face before I got on camera, which is a major improvement on how things used to be. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, for those of you who do not frequent the Near Mint Condition Discord, or I've heard Jess mention it on Omnidog's Vault, why I have not been online for a while. So 2 or 3 days after the last stream I was on Near Mint Condition, the horror comic stream, I was triathlon training, as I do almost every day. And I was riding my bike in a lovely bike path up in the Hutt Valley of Wellington. And there was a post in the middle of the path. And I didn't have glasses on, just sunglasses. So I was a little bit blind. But usually on a bike, it doesn't really matter because I don't wear them for driving. I don't need to wear them for driving. But then I misjudged where I was driving on the path. And there's one of those posts in the middle of the path so that they can like chain off the path so like motorbikes can't go on it. Well, I collided with that post. And I, at full speed, like 20 kilometers per hour, which is as fast as I bike, I fell off my bike at that speed, caught myself on this arm, and then rolled across the path for like what felt like whole minutes, but I'm sure it was just a few seconds. I hesitate to share protected health information online, but at this point, I think everybody has heard this. So I broke some things in my hand. I tore some things in my elbow. Very exciting. I can't lift anything with my right arm, so it's going to make hauls really problematic. I can't swim. Even cooking, chopping, all very difficult things, and I absolutely cannot play guitar. But I'm now 6 weeks into recovery. I'm doing lots of new physical therapy that I didn't have to do before for my legs, because if you remember, before, my leg was already a problem. This is getting older. I mean, not everybody's going to look as gorgeous as it happens, but all the other things are going to happen to you. So yeah, that's the story. That's the 2-minute, very, very deeply interesting story. So I missed the triathlon. I couldn't do it because I can't swim. And I technically can't also bike. But I have started running again, so that's nice because it's the only exercise I really can do. And I, because of the break in my hand, could not do makeup. I couldn't hold makeup brushes, or should I say the hair and makeup team was not invited. So thanks to a lot of wonderful, wonderful physical therapists and doctors in New Zealand and Wellington, I am doing a lot better than I was a few weeks ago. And you can't really tell that anything's wrong with my hand. I can tell as I'm doing this. So with ample lead time, I was able to get ready for the show. Although I do have some concerns about if I'm going to be able to do all the things that I usually do. But so that's where I've been. And now I'm back. Let me know if anything about the audio or video sounds weird, because we're trying some stuff. Superjop retaking their customary first position with a wild Crisis appears. Jaren saying Crisis has returned. Glitter and duct tape, which is a perfect description for what my morning has felt like so far. Saying Wee was thinking about me the other day and for some reason kept getting unsubscribed. Oh no, that won't do. And I am not amused Max saying the return of my soul sibling. Max has been getting nearly hourly updates on this ARM process all along. James Abel, the human cerebro of the collected edition online community, is here. Superjob has been reading a Tom Book King book today, so definitely is having a crisis. Kane made it just in time. I'm so happy to see Kane, and especially Logan Wayne, who I haven't had a chance to hang out with because we have not been streaming. So I know there's going to be a pretty small audience today because it's out of the blue, but you know, you got to restart somewhere. Richard Fearing is here. It's been a long time. Heard I was injured. Indeed. Deaf Kiss is here. Yes, a very happy time. I'm really happy to be here, honestly. I've missed this. That's the first time I've played more than a chord on guitar since October 28th or 29th, so like a month and a half. That's the longest that I have gone without playing guitar in 28 years. Even when I moved to New Zealand, I brought a guitar with me. And usually if I go on vacation anywhere for longer than a day, I bring at least a travel guitar. So like 40-ish days is the longest I have gone without picking up guitar and playing. I've been playing piano instead because I can manage that. And I certainly couldn't get through a whole song. And you will, if you go back and listen, I was playing that at a quite leisurely tempo. But it was nice. So I say that because hearing and seeing me loud and clear and people saying happy to see me, I'm very happy to see all of you because similarly to not playing guitar for 28 years or having not gone that long without playing guitar for 28 years, I haven't gone that long without streaming this whole year. And so it's so strange. Improvements are always good. Logan Wayne saying I should choose you. And then people just responding to my intense injury. So what I learned is that in New Zealand, where we have nationalized healthcare for now, fuck this government, that we have this wonderful thing called hand therapy, which are, that we got us the camera, this new camera really wants to like tweak out every time I move. They have this thing called hand therapy that, now I'm hearing echoes again. What the that it's a physical therapist that is just for hand and like absolutely can do everything that it takes to get your hand worked out. And so they just are all focused on hand. They do researches on hand and up to the elbow. So like I went to their little shop and it's like this cool construction shop almost. Where it's like there's all this stuff. There's a guitar, there's brooms, there's mops, there's sewing machines because it's occupational therapy for people who've hurt their hands and have to do like productive things with their hands. So that's the first thing in my haul. I'm going to show you my assistance devices. One of them I'm going to keep on. The other one I think is going to be a little too restrictive. So first, I left in the other room. There's no way I'm going to make it back out of here, but they made me a custom molded splint. They get this plastic that they put in a steam bath and then they mold it around your arm and then they cool it down. And so it was custom made to my arm, and that's what I wore for several weeks, totally immobilizing my hand. And now I just have this little thing, which is really cool. So it just makes it so I can't like go like that, and it gives me a little support. So I think I'm going to wear that for the stream. And then I have this puppy. I'm not going to put it on because the Velcro is intense, but it has, where's the front of it? It has metal spokes inside of it. Can you see? Metal. That bend, and so it basically acts as like an artificial elbow. And so I've been wearing that to support my elbow, so I have support, and so I can't turn it a weird way. But I'm going to be turning it lots of weird ways on this because I can't deal with the noise of that for an entire stream. Okay. Oh, One Wheelchair X is here. I've been popping in on One Wheelchair X's streams just to comment and watch because I haven't had anything else to do. Not that, I mean, you should all just do it anyway, but I'm saying like I don't have my own streams. So I went on Omnidog stream and made comments yesterday. I've just been enjoying the chance to like watch other people's shows. So One Wheelchair X is saying, got the notification that I'm out for a birthday party, so I won't be able to join the stream live, but I wanted to say hi and I hope I'm well. If you've been looking for issue by issue reviews, One Wheelchair X is doing, what am I trying to say? X-Men Age of Revelation. See, my body was just rejecting the words. But if you actually are interested in somebody who's currently keeping up with the X-Men books, you absolutely could go check out One Wheelchair X's channel and he will catch you up because I, even when I come back to doing comic books, absolutely will not be doing that. There's no way. So the other, hold on. Now I'm going to start. If you start hearing an echo at any point, just raise your hand because it seems like occasionally you'll see why. I have another device here that's connected, and even though it's totally muted and all the audio is off, sometimes it just starts talking again. I don't know why. Technology. So I had a whole haul ready already. See, it's doing it again. I had a whole haul ready already when I got injured. And then I actually kind of went on an intense buying spree because I was very sad. And so now I have like a mega ultra biggest haul ever. They just keep getting bigger and bigger. And this is not my intent. Like, I'm not trying to get into spending lots of money like this all the time, but there's just so much here. And honestly, I can't even remember what I showed you. I got to deal with this contrast thing. Windows computers are the worst. I forget what I even showed you last time. So I'm just going to start walking through the stacks. And if I show you something I showed you already, I'm sorry, but I'm just trying my best. I found the lore. So the lore is back. And you've gotten lots of new lore this episode. So it's thematic. Let's just tackle these piles. And if you want to talk to me, just chat to me in the chat. And let's catch up. Okay, maybe I just don't need as much of a bright light as usual. I don't know. So I think this is going to be my final spawn compendium. This is, oh, it's got a little dent on it, which I don't think was my doing. Anyway, spawn compendium number 4. So this takes us up through issue 200, which is probably the most spawn I ever personally have intention to read. And now we're going to try to do the other new enhancement, if it cooperates. Okay, let's see if it works. Welcome to the stage, the crisis cam. Now I am wearing pants since you're going to be able to see down. So I thought, now can you see this the right way? Okay. Can you see this the right way? Like, can you read spawn here? So this is, it really is quite dented. Can you see that? Okay, I have to get used to how to do this. And of course I'm holding it with my injured hand. So this is spawn compendium 4. And so this takes us from spawn 150 to 200. And the spawn compendiums, none of them have chapter breaks or covers in them. So the story, it's just like one continuous story. Although now, and I don't remember if they always did this, now it says what the issue is, in the top cover. Yeah, so, I mean, these are a big hunker. This really seems like it took actually quite a lot of damage. It looks like it got like a big bend on the top, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't me, but whatever, it's a compendium. They're cheap as. So yeah. I mean, am I ever going to really read 200? I like this flatter coloring on Spawn, which I don't feel like you see too often. But apparently there's a solid 20 or 30 issues like that. So, Spawn Compendium, volume 4. So let me know. Oh boy. So do we like that? Is that even worth doing? Or is that like, crisis, calm down. It's not that exciting. We've had that technology for years. Because to get me to use my phone for anything, that's like, I'm like a grandma when it comes to using a phone. I don't use a phone for anything, any reason other than a phone call. It has no apps on it. I don't know how to operate it. Stop that. I don't know what the buttons do. I clearly don't know how to turn the audio off, even though I have physically muted every muted thing that I can mute on it. Okay, a little blurry. Okay, well, maybe we won't have to keep doing it. Always, an instigator asked about the spine integrity. I would say that actually, of all the compendiums I've had, I think these are a little bit better than the other ones. The DC compendiums feel like they're going to collapse a little bit this way, like they're going to pull outward a little bit. This one is pretty square, and I don't feel like it's going to get that sideways sag, and it's actually glued in pretty well. So I think of all the compendiums I have, actually, I think the Spawn ones might be one of the nicer build qualities. I do worry, oh gosh, this contrast thing is driving me up a wall. And my phone is still So did we like the phone camera, or is that pointless? Because you have to think, I am eventually going to get to things that you might actually care about the inside of. That's the idea. Okay, we'll continue. So that's my comment on the spine integrity. Okay, I was really excited to get this. It was just one of those things that I've had in my cart forever, or on my wish list forever. It's called All Negro Comics, and it's just a very, very thin trade. But this is actually a real vintage comic book that was literally called All Negro Comic Books, and it was published. When was it published? It was published a long, long time ago. Because for a minute I thought that this was like a bunch of modern creators kind of doing like tropey. This is what an old racist comic book would look like. But I think this is actually vintage. I don't know. Truly, I don't know. Yeah, published in 1947. So let's try the crisis cam one more time. And if we think it's annoying, then we're just not going to keep doing it. Okay. So let's add to the stage. Okay. So, gotta get used to all this. So this is all Negro Comics. And it's actually a pretty nice reprint on like a creamy kind of golden color of an actual comic book that was printed in the 1940s with all African-American creators and all African-American characters, historians. And then there's some modern stuff in the end. So I just thought that was really interesting. And you know that I really like any kind of, oh my God. Okay, I think we've had enough of Crisis Crime. You know, I like any kind of book that's got historical value or that has generally underrepresented creators or populations that are creating it. So I'm really excited. I mean, nothing else like this existed at the time. And there were not a lot of creators that were not white creators in American comic books. So this is such a cool artifact. It's only $13. Image published it. And I haven't read it yet, but I really am impressed with the reproduction of it. And I really love, I mean, it's so cute. There's this one story is about a little black Cupid and a little black mermaid being friends. I mean, it's adorable. So I'm really excited to read that. Okay. BJ Kicks has a quote on the back of the book. He does. Look. Friend of the channel, BJ Kicks. I can't actually read that and show at the same time because the contexts are not that good. But yeah, there you go. How cool. It says, this medium is for all of us and we should be proud of all of our contributions, but the legacy starts with all Negro comics. Very, very cool. All right, let's just continue moving through the book, shall we? So as we know, one of my other big weak spots is indie comics, especially indie comics from like the 80s and 90s before they were as much of an institution in the Image era. So when I saw this, I had to pick it up. This is Normal Man, the omnibus. Now, Normal Man was an indie comic from Jim Valentino. And Jim Valentino, of course, is one of the founders of Image Comics. He was the founder who started Shadowhawk. So I don't know anything about this. Apparently, he debuted in the pages of Cerebrus, because this has 2 Cerebrus issues in it, which means it's the first time I've ever owned Cerebrus in print. How are we feeling about the Crisis Cam? Take or leave the Crisis Cam? I think it's fine for me to just hold it up. There's going to be improvements. I think I'm going to do it with my Mac, because then we can have some more control. But the Mac can't point like straight down, so that's not ideal. But I'll figure it out. Have you noticed I'm just not as quick at the mouth right now either? I just haven't done any talking on camera for months. You know, so I'm not. So this is Normal Man. Let's see. It's got a dust jacket, and beneath the dust jacket, fully illustrated wraparound cover. Not soft touch, but not super, super matte. Like a very nice soft touch. It's bound really nicely, although I do think it's glued, but it does have a ribbon. Yeah, that's too square to be sewn. On the end papers, it has Normal Man reaching out. Very, very faint. That's not my camera. That's actually how faint it is. Okay, so let me do some stretching. Even though it's a glued binding, it's always good to stretch your books. And I guess because this camera is more widescreen, actually, we've got a little bit more support. So this is a little bit of a parody book, obviously, because of the comedy aspect of it. It's also got story art and lettering from William Messner Loebs, who I love. So it has his origin in Cerberus 56 and 57, and then Normal Man, which starts in 1984. So this is long, long, long before Image Comics. And as you can see, the first issue of Cerberus that Normal Man was in was actually that very famous run of covers where Dave Sim was parodying Wolverine so directly that Marvel sued and said, it's less a parody and more you make it look just like Wolverine is going to be in your comic book. So this is probably a little bit sillier than I would typically go for, but I just think we have such a restricted access to most indie comics that come before the Image revolution. And even in the 90s, there's so many Image comics that we just do not have access to. And so I really feel like anytime I can get my hands on a reprint from the 80s, I'll take it. And it seems like creators from the 80s are starting to realize that there's an attractiveness there for modern readers, because we're starting to see more and more books from the 80s and 90s showing up as reprinted works and like kickstarting because they realize, well, hey, if the people who like this are now in their 50s, you know, how many more years do we have to work with an audience that might want to pay for this? So we've seen a Nexus Kickstarter. We've seen, you know, the Valiant books from the 90s kickstarted. And like, there's something else from the 80s recently, and I'll really go in for every single one of them. I will, because I want to have access to those books and read those books. And I think it's an important part of comics history. And you know, comics history of the 80s is not just Marvel and DC. Somebody in the comments just mentioned Megaton Man. Well, guess what? I've got that too. Now this is such a huge book. There was a limited edition version of this that was hardcover, but you can only get it from Fantagraphics, and the shipping from Fantagraphics to New Zealand is absurd. It's a chunker. I mean, look how big that is. It's bigger than my wingspan of my hand. And it's a really nice weight for how big it is. Like it's heavier than a phone book, but it's I mean, it's not perfect. There's some kind of crinkle on the spine there. I don't know. Yeah, you can see it if I get really up close. But it's and it's all black and white, which is why but even though it's black and white, the paper is absolutely perfect. It's like a very creamy matte white paper. It's so white. The paper is incredibly white, which I love. And it's thick enough that I'm not really seeing any show or anything. And it takes black ink really well. So let me try to find a page that has a lot of black so you can see. Because sometimes a white paper that's not the right texture for the amount of black that you're going to be printing, if you're printing something with really heavy blacks, the black will kind of go a little bit gray because the paper has show through. I think this is actually the perfect amount of black. It's pretty inky, and of course you're not going to get that jet black like you would in the glossy page of the Spawn Compendium, but I'm really happy with it. So I really like this. Now this says Volume 1, the 1980s, so I guess there's going to be more of Megaton Man. I don't really know anything about it. Again, it's just one of those comics that I've never had the opportunity to have access to, which is fascinating to me. So this starts with Megaton Man versus Dr. Software from, once again, 1984. And I'm pretty excited to have it. I mean, I'm like starting to just page through it, and I wish I could just sit here and read it. But we've got hauls to get through. And of course, I haven't read it yet because it's been in the plastic, because I've been waiting to do a haul. Yeah. Named by Brian Gable, editor and publisher Dennis Kitchen, art director Peter Poplawski. So yeah, it seems like some of you actually know more about this than I do. But I'm very excited to actually find out about it. Okay. Matt H, it's good to see you as well. I noticed that a lot of people have these little addendums on their name. I don't know what that's about, but it's good to see you. It's good to see everybody. I mean, I was really upset and depressed for the beginning part. I mean, they, talk about like the stages of grief. I just gotten this new computer. I was just starting to get into good shape and feel like I was really prepared for the triathlon. And not only did the injury mean I couldn't do the triathlon or stream with the new computer, but I live in fear of not being able to play guitar, but also to like write and type. And at the beginning, I really couldn't type at all either. I mean, because I couldn't use this hand really at all. And it was in this, that my big splint. And it's really one of my worst nightmares. I know many worse things can happen to you and your family, but personally for me, such a huge part of my identity is playing guitar and being a writer and being online. And so having that all stripped away and not being able to rely on my new pastime, exercise, for a few weeks, it was tough stuff. Like I really had to sit and question, like, what is this crisis show personally about if I can't do any of those things that define me? And so it was really tough stuff. And luckily it was a relatively brief amount of time and I'm bouncing back pretty well. There's some question as to whether my elbow is ever going to heal, or if I'm going to need surgery, or if I won't be a candidate for surgery and it'll just be messed up the whole rest of my life. So I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do weightlifting again. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go swimming again. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to play guitar the same way again. And it is tough stuff, but I'm happy that I can at least be back online and have a talk with you. Funny that Super Drop just mentioned that Savage Dragon's first appearance was in an issue of Megaton, because guess what else I have? I have Savage Dragon, the Ultimate Collection, oversized hardcover. They are oversized, and I have 1 and 2. There's also a 3, and 4 either just came out. I think it was scheduled to come out on the 26th of November, but I think maybe it got delayed because I haven't seen it pop up on IST yet, so there's a number 4. Now, This was the one of the Image founding books that I don't have any of, because I have, of course, all of Wildstorms. That means I have Wildcats and Stormwatch. I have all of Shadowhawk in color, and I have its black and white collection. I have every issue of Youngblood ever published as singles. I have now Spawn in Compendium up through issue 200. So let's see, that's Wildstorm, Shadowline, Todd McFarlane Productions, Extreme. I have all of Top Cow, like all the in-universe, in continuity Top Cow comic books through early 2000s. So all the original Cyberforce and every issue of Cyberforce, Weapon Zero, all of that stuff. I didn't get like the sideline stuff like Tomb Raider, and then I didn't get I don't think I have all of When It Turns Into Artifacts, and I never had all of the Darkness and Witchblade, but I'm collecting those in the hardcovers. So literally, of the Image founders, Savage Dragon was the only one I didn't have. And it's just because there was really no great collection format of it to get big chunks of it at the time that I was getting all the stuff and getting ready to move to New Zealand. So the thing is, I know I love to mock Savage Dragon in the modern day because it's very mockable, but hold on, let me get my fishing hook that I open things with and then stab myself with. Here's the hook from the lore, but now it's my book opener. It's perfect because like it's not a scissors where you might clip the book. It just goes right through the end of the plastic. But then I start playing with it off screen, and then you see me go, and it's because I've stabbed it through my thumb. So, but Savage Dragon at the beginning was a really fun comic book. Like Eric Larson took a long time to become totally weird. So I think it looked good. I think it told a fun story. And I think it was kind of, I've said this, I don't know if I've said it on stream before, but to me, Savage Dragon was this is really nice. Oh, it's so nice. Savage Dragon for me was the original Invincible. Like it was just like over the top, violent, soap opera, not afraid to say that these heroes have sex even from the beginning, although it wasn't as explicit as it is now. Y'all, if you are Savage Dragon curious, I have to say that this is spectacular. So underneath the dust jacket, it's the same. And it's super glossy, but it's the same printing. The end papers are the first thing I reacted though. So here's the opening end paper, Savage Dragon in the middle of this huge explosion. But then look at the back end paper. First of all, how often are end papers different from the front and the back? But second of all, that is a fantastic execution, and I've never seen anything like that as an end paper before. So then the actual reproduction of the series is incredible. I mean, I have a couple of these issues. I don't have a whole run of it. It does not look this good. It's clear that they're really doing the work to blow this up and get the color fidelity. If you go in tight on these pages, and we can do that really right here, there's no artifact of the scanning of the paper. It's clear that this is not just a scan up as Marvel often does with their mid-90s books. This is truly a remaster from the files. It's really nice to hold. And it has a ton of extras, including, I think that's the Jim Lee cover. No, it's Eric Larson. And then here he is fighting Normal Man, who we were just introduced to. So yeah, in terms of this is actual content, and then from there down is special features. If you like Savage Dragon at all or are curious, this is for you. So this is the original miniseries and the first 8 issues of the series. So even though it's oversized, and let me just hold it up to something else, like properly oversized, so you can trust me here. So here it is next to the Dead Boy Detectives Omnibus. It is exactly the same. Well, might be, no, it's the same. It's exactly the same trim size. So it's a standard omnibus size and oversized. It's not library. But it's about the length of a Masterworks. It's like, well, no, I guess it's longer than a Masterworks. Masterworks like 13 issues. So it's not omnibus sized. It's really just OHC sized, but the presentation is just gorgeous. The remastering is gorgeous. It feels great in the hands. It costs $40, so you can usually get it for 30 or less online. I would say if you're curious, even to just read the beginning of it, I'm way more excited about this than I thought I was going to be. This is really nice, and I'm probably going to get the other two now. So I'm not going to open this one too, but probably very similar. And construction. Okay, what else should we do? I mean, I'm just surrounded by new stuff. Oh, here's something fun. So you know that gotta be careful with the arm. Whew. Okay. So this is Upstream Color and Primer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you because it's so white, much like me. So this is a movie called Primer. that if you've never seen it, it is one of the most mind-bending sci-fi movies. It was shot on a nothing budget, I think under $10,000, on like normal handheld cameras in like 2002 or 3, because I remember first seeing it when I moved in my first rented house, which was in 2004. It was one of the first things I got for my Blu-ray player. So this is 20 years old at this point. And it is the best, coolest, sort of time travel, but not really time travel story that I think I've ever seen. Anytime, it's only 77 minutes long. Every time I watch it twice. Every single time I've ever watched it, I've watched it 2 times in a row because it kind of wraps back onto itself a little bit. And the creator, Sean Carruth, is just like a really brilliant mind. Unfortunately, I think he's done some I think he got canceled. I think he did some questionable things, which I don't recall, even though I've certainly read about them. So we're not going to pass judgment on that. But I think he was being a creep in a really aggressive kind of way. But he went away for years, and then because he wanted to just make movies his way, and he got offered studio movies because it was such a big splash. And so then he came back with this second movie called Upstream Color. And I actually saw a special screening of Upstream Color in Philadelphia where he was there at the Q&A. So I met him. And so this has both movies. Now, Primer is the big draw because he's really known for that. Upstream Color, however, is really beautiful and fantastic. It's a very strange movie, and it's about kind of like the nature of consciousness. And to an extent, what am I trying to say? Nirvana, not the band, you move up, not rejuvenation, reincarnation, kind of about reincarnation. And really fascinating. So then he again started getting offered big budget movies. And again, he was like, no, I just want to do things myself. And so he's making this other movie that it's going to be his version of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was big brained, but also kind of Goonies. And the script is leaked online, and the script is crazy. These kids basically find this self-replicating AI, which I guess much less fascinating now. And then we keep getting flashes of the future where it's transformed the entire Earth, and it's kind of telling both stories in parallel. But then he had his little mentee bee, and he got problematic, so that's never going to get made. So I treasure Primer. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I would love to see Upstream Color again. And to my knowledge, Primer had never been available on Blu-ray before this. So when I saw this pop up on Amazon, I was like, yes, we're doing it. So definitely, I mean, if you like sci-fi, if you like movies like Looper or Edge of Tomorrow, but you don't need all the action, you just like the conceptual part of that, you must see Primer. It is a foundational much watch. And Max saying Primer deep cut. Richard saying hello. It has been a minute. Hope all is well. Well, all has not been well, but I'm so happy to be here. And I'm happy to be, I have to say, of all of the various enhancements, so the phone is kind of a thumbs down. The new computer seems good so far, right? Except for this contrast changing, but I'll figure that out. But the contact lenses, I mean, they're not perfect. I think I have to get a different prescription, but being able to not have my glasses on and see you and also see me on the camera is total game changer. I didn't even know it was possible. Yone Paul is saying perverts for early image are living their best lives with these collections. I agree, because I am certainly an early image pervert. God, there's so many new books surrounding me right now. I truly don't even know where to begin. This could be one of the longest haul streams of all time, because this is maybe it's even 3 months of hauls, right? Because if I had a month of hauls already, and then I got injured, and then 6 weeks went by. And I did get a shipment last week, so there's a chance that this actually is 3 months of hauls. Okay, so I have a bunch of paperback stuff. We're just going to blow through a couple things that I don't have a lot to say about. This is Aliens Epic Collection, Original Years, Volume 3. Now, Marvel doesn't go quite as slim on these as they do on Conan, luckily. But they still are moving very slowly through the omnibus material. They certainly could go a little bit bigger. This is shy of 500 pages, which I guess for an epic is pretty big. And this would, I think, be a decent stopping point. Actually, you probably could have stopped on the one before this and had all of the material that Dark Horse originally did that was aliens, things that were really parallel to the movies. This is when they kind of realized they're going to have to move past the movies with other material. And I'm not as familiar with this material. I have a guide to it and how it's all been collected, but I can't say that I've read anything in this collection. So it has, this does have their adaptation of Alien 3. So you would want this if you want all the stuff parallel to the original movies. This has Alien 3, Alien Space Marines, Aliens Rogue, and Aliens Labyrinth, as well as a story that ran in previews 1 through 12, which I think is a Space Marine story, but I would have to go to my guide and take a look. Yeah, I think it's another Space Marine story. So I mean, some of the art was really, really cool. I mean, Dark Horse in the 90s, which was surging on the strength of things like Hellboy, had a reputation for really, really cool artwork. And I think that even as we get into the mid 90s, this is just something much cooler than anything that was happening at Marvel or DC in terms of art, which to me is the attraction. Plus, I just like the Alien universe. So I'm really a big fan of this. I would absolutely say if you can still get the first one or two of these, I would absolutely get one or two of these epic collections, especially if you like the Aliens movies. I think you will really be satisfied. I do. I really have enjoyed what I've read of the early ones. So far, Logan Wayne saying knows that I don't really do TV, but I have seen Interview with the Vampire. He thinks I'd love it. First season deals with themes of race, class, and queerness in the 1930s New Orleans. No, I really haven't watched much TV, although I did do a little stint of watching some screen stuff when I first had my injury, because I was like, well, what else am I going to do? But so I did watch a couple of episodes of Alien Earth, hated it. Hated it. And I usually like Noah Hawley. So yeah, hated Alien Earth. And I'm watching Pluribus. Love the concept. I think the execution is horrible. But I haven't liked Vince Gilligan since X-Files. You have to think, I don't like screen media. I like reading things. I like things under my own control. So no, I have not seen Interview with the Vampire. I've seen lots of queer people going crazy over Interview with the Vampire. Of course, I was an Anne Rice fan, OG, in the 90s. But no, I have not watched it yet. So let's continue through the stack of paperbacks. We have DC Finest War, which I am fascinated that they are spending the time to put this in a collection. Just, I guess, like, why not just put out one? The structure of the DC Finest line is such that you can put out one and then be like, well, let's see how it does. And then we'll see if we keep wanting to put out more or not. So this collects adventures from, it's called DC Finest War, the Big Five Arrive. And DC Finest doesn't have volume numbers. So this just covers war comics from 1957. It jumps into Our Army at War 54 through 57, Our Fighting Forces 17 through 20, Black Hawk 108 through 111, All American Men of War 41 through 44, GI Combat 44 through 47, and Star Spangled War Stories 53 through 56. However, I want to say, why did they start here? January 1957, although more than a decade had passed since the end of World War II, the American public still yearns for tales of combat, bravery, and heroism. So originally I was thinking maybe this was the debut of Sergeant Rock, but now I'm just thinking it's actually just random war comics from those years. So I'm in for the entire DC Finest line. Am I ever going to read this? I don't know. But I support old comics being archived and collected, and then as a result of being collected, also digitized. And I have all the other Finest, so I bought that too because I have a problem. Okay. We have a Marvel Epic Collection. It is Hulk Epic Collection number 10, To Hunt the Hulk. And this is Hulk 245 through 262 and Marvel Treasury Edition 25. I don't have my guide in front of me, but I want to say this is into Bill Mantlo. Yes, this is into the Bill Mantlo run, which we famously had a collection of as a series of what people refer to as proto-epics, because they came out in 2012 and 2013 as Marvel was prepping the epic line, and it was kind of like they were testing the idea for the format. They were pretty chunky paperbacks that were totally complete of what would need to be collected in that era, totally sequential to each other, and they released several of them in a row to collect the entire Bill Mantlo line, which was clearly a little bit of an experiment in what they could do for epic collections. There were a couple other lines where they tried that, but not a lot. It wasn't really common for them to do all-inclusive, relatively thick trade paperbacks like this of old material. They definitely didn't usually do things that were like 18 to 20 issues. They also did a couple for Avengers, Absolute Vision or like the Trial of Yellow Jacket, but there weren't a lot of lines at Marvel that were getting collected in paperback in a comprehensive way like this, so they experimented with Hulk, and then they brought out the epics. But because they had put out those 3 books that were proto-epics, they've never gotten back to doing that material in epics for a long, long time. And so now that there's so few gaps left in the epic line, they're going back for that material. Of course, Bill Mantlo's Hulk material is very, very well loved. And in terms of artists, we are looking at art primarily from Sal Buscema and Herb Trimpe, with a little bit from Steve Ditko as well. I'm not a tremendous fan of this era of Hulk personally, but one day I'll read it all, and then I will learn if I'm more of a fan of it or not. Okay. let's see, people, we don't, people talking about buying books we don't need to read. Def Kiss saying, I didn't like the hybrids they put in Aliens Earth. Like why I stopped after 3 and 4. I think it was very thrilling to have hybrids and have more androids and like all the stuff. Gosh, it's getting hot in here. That they were doing. But my problem with it was idiot plot. You've heard me talk about idiot plot on the streaming show. The idea that you can only advance the plot of the show or the movie by everybody acting incredibly, incredibly dumb. And I felt like right from the first episode, and I know in Aliens, everybody acts in a slightly inadvisable way. Like that's the only way to make the xenomorph action kind of happen. But everybody was so stupid that it just took me out of it, because even from like the first 30 minutes, I was like, why would you do that? Why would you say that? Why would you decide that? And then when I got to the second episode, it just amplified. And I was like, I would rather just read summaries on Wikipedia. But again, I don't like screen media. You can never take my review of a screen thing seriously, because to me, it all sucks. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. So this is another indie book that I kind of wish I went in for the hardcovers of, but they were just so hard to get here. And so this was actually on IST. This is Jim Starlin's Dreadstar, which I actually have a little bit of in singles. But, you know, it's something I've always wanted to read, kind of Jim Starlin doing his own space thing. And the art I have always known to be really striking. I mean, it's striking in a way that really just didn't look like anything else that was being put out at the time in, I want to say, the 80s. So this originated in Epic Illustrated, which was Marvel's original branding of that word epic, which was basically their opportunity to let the creators who were really big for them in the 80s have their own creator-owned book that was put out in a premium magazine format. And so, wow, I just saw it. So Starlin originally, I mean, just this art, it's like really, really incredible. As I rewatch these episodes, sometimes I realize I need to linger like 5 times as long when I hold things up to the screen. I always think, take a look. Okay, goodbye. Okay, take a look. Okay, goodbye. So this is a collection of the first 18 issues of what he spun out of that in the 80s. Do I know anything about it? No. Is it on? You'll notice a theme with a lot of these. Not only is collecting indie comics that were never collected before, but a lot of them are things that were on my top 100 or that you didn't see in my top 100, but they're like in my top 200. And so that's why I collected them. So there are going to be more of these. I wish I had gotten the hardcover, but I didn't. So I have it in softcover. What should we pick up next? There are just so many books. Oh, I know what I want to do next. Oh my God, I can't even. Oh, wrong hand to pick that up with. Oh my gosh. Okay, so these we need to start accumulating over here. This we're going to start putting down here. This I got for myself. So Max and I, before the accident, we're starting to talk about some plans for next year to do something musical. And I was saying that because it's the 10-year anniversary of David Bowie's death, I would like to do a kind of a reaction to a David Bowie album or series of albums. But since we didn't want to deal with rights issues, I wanted to, sorry, Max, I'm telling our secret plans. I wanted to, instead of playing clips from the actual album, have us play the clips that we wanted to talk about. So if it's Ziggy Stardust and we want to talk about Ziggy Stardust, one of us picks up a guitar and, oh God, well, here we go. Let's see if I can do it. One of us picks up a guitar and we go, Ziggy played guitar, jamming good with Weird and Gilly and the fighters from Mars. And then we comment on the thing that we actually played. Oh, that probably sounded like crap because I think I turned my echo cancellation back on. Now I want to redo. I want evidence of what I sound like now that I can actually play guitar a little bit again. I'm turning off all the echo cancellation. We're doing it again. Rewind. Okay. Oh, my whole computer changed when I did that. Great. Windows machines are the worst. So anyway, take 2. Ziggy played guitar, jamming good with Weird and Gilly and the spiders from Mars. So it still might happen. So there are 2 Bowie books that if you're a big David Bowie fan are really handy for that. I have this one digitally, but I decided I wanted a physical version finally. It's called The Complete David Bowie, and it addresses all of the times that he was ever in the studio for any reason at all whatsoever. And it has just a comprehensive tracking of everything that he's done year by year, all the way through. I think it came out shortly before he passed away, so I don't think it has Black Star. No, it does. It's all the way through 2016. This printing was from after Black Star. So after he passed away, I got this, and this is what I used to guide getting every recording of every song that has ever been released that Bowie was in the studio for at all whatsoever, which was the beginning of me doing that for like every possible artist, which is how I start having problems. I start like doing a complete of one thing, like David Bowie or X-Men, and then it gets crazy. But this book, I mean, I can't even see this even with my context, and the text is so small. But it's basically an encyclopedia of every time he's ever been in a recording studio. So after reading that Allred Bowie book, which I think is in the shelf in the other room, finally, I got this idea to do that with Max. So there's this, and then there's a huge coffee table book that has a similar scope to this, but it's not as atomized, like thing by thing as this is. So I got both this and the coffee table book. And the idea was to do that stream, and then injury, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to play guitar. You'll notice I played Ziggy very slowly and not with a lot of strumming. Now I'm sounding quiet. Thank you, Kane, for pointing that out. No, it shouldn't be quiet. The mic volume says it's really high. But again, but I see it does. It's reporting as low. Again, Windows machines are garbage. Garbage. I hate it so much. Yep, there's the volume turned down. I don't know why. I don't have any kind of like adjust my volume automatically thing turned on. Windows, Mac, when you tell a Mac, like, don't do XYZ thing, the Mac's like, yep, got it. And then that's the end. Usually you don't have to like reset it or redo it or like supersede the direction that you gave it already. But on a Windows machine, you've got to do that constantly because Windows just decides things for you. Okay. Anyway, so a lot of you are saying some cool stuff about David Bowie, which is wonderful because I also love David Bowie. Okay, so that still might happen. This is not a temporary laptop, Logan. I had to get a machine that I would be able to do work on because my old machine the video card could not keep up with like Zoom meetings and presentations and stuff. So I just got a decent Windows laptop, which here decent, it has an integrated video card, so it's not even with its own video card. Here decent. I hate to talk about money because New Zealand money is so different than American money and you guys are going to gasp. It was $3,000 and it's not nice. It's basically the same as my Mac, it's the same RAM as my Mac. It's the same processor as my Mac. It just is slightly better video handling. And my Mac is 5 years old. And this costs $3,000 in New Zealand. I looked it up in the States and I think it's like $1,400 in the States. So I just needed a computer I could do work presentations on, and because of that it does have a much nicer camera than my Mac, so that is one improvement. So I can now stream in true high definition. So this is kind of just my office computer. It just sits here all the time for me to do work on and also to do streaming on, but I still don't have my like permanent new computer I'm gonna be able to like update CK and everything. By the way, if you haven't been on Crushing Crisis lately, crushingcrisis.com, which is my actual home on the internet, I did a bunch of new guides for Patreon last month because the Patreon, I wanted to make sure they had some stuff going into the new year. Now, if you're at the bottom level of pledging, you have over 70 guides. Over 50 guides. And if you're at the top layer of pledging, which is only $2 a month right now, there are over 100 guides. I did a guide to all of Stranger Things, which there's much more than you think there is. I did a little mini guide to Claws to explain the 11 issues of Claws, which was really, really fun. I did a guide to Old Man Logan. I did a guide to The Invaders, which was much more complex than I thought because you have to track down all the times that they flash back to the invaders ever. So that was really fun. I did that for a month in November. I'm taking December off to try to get ahead, and then I'm going to get back to doing new guides again in the new year. So that is very, very fun stuff. Okay, so this is They Called Us Enemy, which is George Takei's award-winning comic book of his experience during World War II as American society put Asian people, specifically Japanese people, in internment camps. I specifically got this as a gift for Kid Crisis. So she will be getting this for Christmas. So got to put that aside somewhere I can find it. Okay, because I've been working my way down to this book. I've had this out from the library multiple times, and I saw it was on the IST sale, and I was like, yes, thank you, I will get it on sale. It is called The Art of Drag, And it's really, really cool just to open up. First of all, check out the sparkly cover. And then inside, this is not a mistake. It is not broken. It actually has this really cool sewn binding, which is deliberately exposed rather than being glued down. I've now handled multiple copies of this because I've had it from the library multiple times. And that's how all of the copies are. Really, really cool. So it is a comic version of taking a look at different drag throughout modern history. There we go. So this talks about Andy Warhol, and of course you see there the famous David Bowie bolt from Aladdin Sane. So it's not just about like modern RuPaul era drag queens, although it does have a spread of RuPaul here saying her famous phrase, "You better work." She looks really white there because of the reflection, but she is colored appropriately. She's trying to get it. There we go. But I'm interested to see what other drag queens. So I've read several pages of it when I had it out from the library. This is about Divine and John Waters. But it's got this totally amazing, like, special ink. Like, you can't get a lot of these color combinations from a normal CMYK build of ink. So this has a lot of, like, really cool spot colors. And it talks about the history of some things like the corset. And it talks about the history of drag in vaudeville and pantomime, which is really cool. It's funny, I've been watching I Love Lucy with Kid Crisis, which she loves. We just got up to Lucy having the baby. So we're like in the first third of season 2. And it's really cool because she's old enough now to talk about like media tropes and how things originated and how many things that I Love Lucy trailblazed. Like how many things happened on I Love Lucy for the first time, any time that had been televised. But some things weren't actually happening for the first time. Some things were happening. Sorry, I'm looking for my next book as I'm monologuing here. Some of the things were happening not for the first time, but for the first time on TV because they had been well-established vaudeville tropes. And one of the things is that they're just always in drag. They're always, Lucy's dressing as a man, Fred gets dressed as a woman, or they're dressed up in like heightened version of gender drag sometimes, and which was just a vaudeville thing. It wasn't objectionable or weird at all to see Lucy dressed up as a guy. It was just normal stuff. And so it's just been, but then other things like, you know, the very famous episode, Lucy is enceinte, because the standards and practices division wouldn't let them say the word pregnancy on air or pregnant. And so they had to keep finding different ways to talk about Lucy being expecting without saying pregnant. Somebody just asked Cedric and Ellen, hello, bonjour, saying who's the writer and artist of this. Jake Hall, Sophie Birkin, Helen Lee, and Jaysjot Singh Hans. It's so cool. If your local library has it, which I was very impressed that mine has it, definitely just pick it up to page through. It's just, my problem with getting things from the library is, you know, that I'm not like a quick binge reader of things. And so I'll get something from the library and then I'll read like 3 pages of it. I only really binge read when it's like for the show. And so I'll get things from the library, read 3 pages, and 2 weeks go by, and then it's due back. So my general policy is if I get something from the library twice and I'm still like inching through it, I will just physically get it. So this is a rare example of me owning something from Marvel or DC where the original was released after 2012. I did it, folks. I broke down. Am I going to get all the Krakoa omnibuses? I don't know. But I had to own this DM cover of House of X, Power of X, because the regular cover is the most hideous thing I've seen in my entire life. So I just think that even if you're not going to collect all of Krakoa, that Hickman changes the history of X-Men so seismically in this book because of his approach to Moira McTaggart that I think you can get this purely as a companion piece to your Chris Claremont collection, to your Age of Apocalypse collection, and you can still enjoy it without having all of Krakoa that comes after it. Now, what I want to know is, does it have the fold-out page for Moira? No, it doesn't. So here's the very famous, now infamous, Lives of Moira X, which I believe in the original comic was a fold-out, but here it is just on sequential pages. So I am really excited to have this. I've never read it physically. I mean, we did my origin story on YouTube is on Faria's channel. Gosh, these title pages are so amazing. On Faria's channel, we did what was it called? Hoxpox Talks, or I forget. I always get what we called ours confused with what Chris from Crisis on Infinite Chris's had a column that he wrote with Zach from Comics XF, and I always get what we called ours confused with what they called theirs. But anyway, we had a Hoxpox show, and I forget what it was called, but I read it all digital at the time. I mean, this is just amazing, and actually the physical presentation of it is really, really cool. Here's that incredibly now famous page of Xavier doing it to me, my X-Men. So, I mean, I know this like the back of my hand. I've read it so many times for the show, so many times for my guide. The dust cover is really cool. It has printing on the inside. This is the first time I've ever had one of these modern Krakoa books physically, so I know a lot of you collect them, but to me, this is all new stuff. So, really, really lovely design. And, you know, really, really significant. And again, I'm on Reddit, comic book Reddit, every single day on comic book Reddit. Somebody is asking, how do I collect Hickman X-Men? Where do I start? What do I get after Hoxpox? Here's my message for you. You can just read Hoxpox. It's its own consolidated event. Yes, it opens up lots of threads that continue into the rest of Krakoa, but it so fundamentally alters everything you know about X-Men that it's fine to just read it on its own, because you still have the takeaway of all of the ways that it's going to change the way that you approach the X-Men, even if you don't continue reading from there. So that is my message to you about Hoxpox. Oh boy, people have been saying a lot of things. Talking about the laptop, talking about Boulay Brothers Dragula. I haven't seen the finale yet because Shudder won't accept my credit card anymore. But I was watching the season. I think JK was amazing. It was so cool to see Abora actually finally get things to turn out the way that they wanted them to turn out. I'm a massive, massive fan of Sigourney Beaver, so I was a little disappointed that she didn't do as well or get as far as we hoped. I'm a massive, massive fan of Priscilla Chambers. So it was just a fantastic season of drag, and I really love that Dragula is not the same old that Drag Race is. Really, really loved it. Okay, a bunch of people reacting to Hoxpox. Johnny Paul is saying, the first step in a journey to my complete oversized Krakoa collection. I don't know if I need all that in physical format, y'all. And D. Marcel is here after a long, long break, turning up to continue his streak of streams attended. Tom Mueller, the unsung hero of Krakoa. Actually, I'm not a huge fan of his design aesthetic, but I do think some of the collection editions look decent in certain parts. Okay. Here's some more softcover epics. I have this Moon Knight epic volume 6. So this is Mark Spector Moon Knight 26 through 38, which previously we did have in omnibus, but we didn't have in paperback. I also have all of it in floppy. I love 90s Moon Knight. I'm a sucker for it. I can't wait to finally. I've read a lot of it in singles for when I did my Moon Knight guide. I got all the singles way back then, because there was no other way to own Moon Knight at the time. That was before that. Some of it was in essentials, but the omnibuses didn't exist and epics didn't exist. So I've read some of it, but I've never been able to read all of it comprehensively. Although I do have all of it, because I've just never sat down. Beautiful Bill Sienkiewicz covers in here. So I think Omar and Curtis just did an epic announcement stream last week, I want to say. And I think they announced what will be the last Moon Knight epic. I think we're going to have a complete line. Yeah, Yornite here saying classic Moon Knight epics are complete with the latest announcements. I would say that epic line as a complete line is one of the best bang for your buck epic lines that exists at Marvel. So I would definitely highly recommend. Everything I've read of Moon Knight has been amazing. I also have, and I know this is a complete double dip of things I already own, but I still bought it, the Doctor Doom epic. I guess that was one of the only covers that they had a choice of, but boy, is that not the most lovely Doctor Doom cover that you can choose. I mean, why wouldn't you pick this one? Or show this interior page? But anyway, that's what they chose. So this is kind of a anthology epic. You know, if I do full sneeze, the makeup just flies right off my face like a cartoon. Okay, this so this is Fantastic Four 5, 6, 10, 16 and 17, 23, 39 and 40, 57 and 60, 73, Annuals 2 and 3, Amazing Spider-Man 5, Avengers 25, Daredevil 37 and 38, and Marvel Superheroes 20. So we're not even into his rarities material yet, which would be nice to have in paperback. Previously, they only existed in, or somewhere up here. And oh, you can't see that. In Masterworks. But we're not up to that yet. So I kind of don't love these double dip ones, and especially for Doctor Doom, it's going to be all double dip. For Silver Surfer, clearly at a point, it breaks into Surfer's own stuff. But I'm committed at this point, although I should be committed, and so I get everything Epic Collection, so I got that. Okay. And then this Doctor Strange Epic Collection. This is Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme 62 through 75, so it's the second to last, I want to say, epic of his 1990s series. Again, I have guides on Crushing Crisis that know all of this information, so I don't have to remember it all. But so I also have all of Doctor Strange in floppies, because again, there was a point that was the only way that you were going to be able to have all of Doctor Strange before the Epic Collections and the omnibuses start. Although this was unusual in that they did a complete version of all of these comics in omnibus before they got to Epic Collections, and I guess just to support the movies. I really love this period of Doctor Strange where he's in his, like, I'm trying to find a really good panel of it. He's in his weird suit where he's just got like a full mask over his face. Here's a cover of it. I just really enjoy that. I think it's a really cool design. So I've actually never read this period. I don't really know this mid-late 90s Doctor Strange. It's got a lot of really cool art though from just paging through. And there's a whole lot of artists, but the one that sticks out for me in the list is Kyle Holtz, who's still around and always does really kind of like creepy looking artwork. So I guess he's been doing that for a long time now. Okay. I told you this might have been my biggest haul ever. Okay, let's see what a couple of you have been saying. Logan Wayne, what Moon Knight runs do I recommend? I've been wanting to get into them. I know Omar is not a fan of 90s Moon Knight. I think the best place to start is probably with his original series. What is it, like 1980? So that's been an omnibus, it's been an epics. If you get it in them, you'll also get like his early material in Werewolf by Night and in like Marvel Premiere and stuff like that. But I think that's really good. I would start at the start. I really like the 1990 series. I just don't know if starting at the beginning of the 1990 series is as compelling unless you love 90s comics, which many of you do. I also love starting with his modern stuff in 2006 with the Houston run. I really love those. That's how I was introduced to him. He became a playable character in Marvel Avengers Alliance, the Facebook game, which was the foundation of a lot of me learning about slightly more obscure characters. Now we don't think of Moon Knight as obscure, but in like 2012, I want to say he was still pretty obscure in terms of Marvel characters. And I was just getting back to comics. So I was like, oh, who's this Moon Knight? I literally never had a comic in the 90s that he was in. So then I just picked up a bunch of the trades of that Houston run in 2006 and I was instantly hooked. And they have David Finch covers. So very cool covers. But yeah, I would either start, if you like Bronze Age stuff, I would start with his original series. And if you like modern stuff, I would start with that 2006 series. Oh my gosh. Well, wait. Okay, there's two particular indie things that I've spread out across all of my piles, so I'm kind of like accumulating them as we go. And then once I feel like I've discovered all of them in the piles, because guess what? There's at least 2 times... Oh, I can't lift with that hand. Okay, there's at least 2 times as much stuff as we've talked about already, if you can believe it. Okay, those announced Moon Knight issues are absolutely terrible, though. Oh, people blessing my sneeze. We say "à tes souhaits" here, which is to your wishes en français. Stephen Platt is irresistible to OG Image perverts. Stephen Platt was the artist at the end of the original run of the 90s Moon Knight comic, and he went on to do not a whole lot of work for Image, and to this day, his art is super hot, and if you're looking for a book that he did the art for, it will still be expensive to this day. So if you're trying to collect individual issues of Image from back then, it's prohibitively hard to do because all of his individual issues are still so expensive to get. Okay, I wanna say you've seen... No, those are new too. Okay, this is a book that I read in my quest to read everything that comes out from every publisher. It's called May. It's by Jean Ha, who is one of the artists who did the Wonder Woman Historia with Kelly Sue DeConnick. I can't say that I recall what it's about. I love paperbacks that have this little dust jacket flap, and it's got one on the back too. But I do remember that I like loved it. I want to say it's about this young girl who lives in the real world, and she discovers that she has a way to kind of go to this alternate world that's kind of very Alice in Wonderland high fantasy-esque. And so she's trying to square the relationship between the two worlds. And I really, Gene Ha's a really talented artist and a really talented writer. His art is just so cool. It's got like a cartoony aspect to it, but then his faces and all the acting is just so great. I feel like he's so good at emotion. And I never quite got the end of it. I think maybe it stopped coming out in digital, or I just dropped off. And so I saw this on IST in the sale, and I was like, heck yeah. Plus, I feel like I liked it enough, and it was uplifting, with female protagonists enough that I think I would probably let Kid Crisis read it. So this is a really nice book. It's from Oni Press. It's only $30. Honestly, this is way nicer than an Epic Collection or a DC Finest for $30. I would absolutely get it. It was like in the red tag sale on IST, but it's the definitive edition. It has all of May. It's all 12 issues of the series, which is remastered to his original creative vision. This feels like a heck of a lot more than 12 issues, but I guess some of them were double-sized. But yeah, he is the story and the art. Colors by Wes Hartman and Wesley Wong, and letters from Xander Cannon. Xander Cannon, isn't that the artist of Sleep at Image, I want to say? I don't know. But yeah, I guess it's only 12 issues, but it's just a ton of pages. So anyway, highly endorsed. I can't wait to read it all in one go and probably give it to Kid Crisis. It's so weird because the contacts are not quite the right prescription for me, but they're contacts, so I can't put my glasses on to improve what I'm seeing. And so every time I get really tight, oh my gosh, that was too heavy. Every time I get really tight on something and I can't see quite what it says, I reflexively reach out for glasses that I cannot wear, because then I will be extra blind. Secret Hidden Masterworks, yes, the top shelf, which I usually cannot show with my other camera. A haul around the world in this economy, right? I mean, it's months and months of haul, and honestly, I went a little bonkers that first week that I was injured, because I was like, well, I guess I'm going to be reading. So I did order a bunch of stuff. Oh, actually, I have something really special to show you. I'll do a couple more and then I'll go off camera and get it. Well, I haven't actually watched all the Epic announcements yet. I just forwarded through it at like 8 times speed just to get a lay of the land. But I have to say, I'm pretty excited for Moon Knight because it finishes the line. Yeah. Let's see. What did he go by then? Blue Mage something? Oh, Doctor Strange. I don't know. You're the Doctor Strange expert, Max. Cedric and Ellen, do I have Silver Surfer GN from the late 70s by Stanley and Jack Kirby? I don't have it as its own thing. Has that been in the Epic collections? I'm not sure. I'd have to look at my guide. Current Jed McKay Moon Knight is a great place to start. Yeah, that's true. If you start at the beginning of Jed McKay's Moon Knight, that is also a terrific start. I really agree with Reaper. I love that Houston Finch run. Hayden McGee asking, is there any character I think still deserves an Epic line? For me, it's Spider-Woman from the classic era. I mean, so many. I do think Spider-Woman, I guess we're doing pretty well. Oh, every time it sees the back of my hair, the contrast changes. I gotta figure out how to change that setting in Windows. I'm just looking at all of my epics. Oh, Cable. It's crazy that we don't have a Cable Epic collection. His series is 107 issues plus the 12 issues of Soldier X, the 2 issues of Blood and Metal, and a handful of annuals. So we're talking about ballpark 125 issues. We can knock that out in 6 Epic collections. I think it's kind of crazy that there's no Cable Epic collection. So that's one. Spider-Woman, although after you get past her 50 issues, like, do you continue calling it Spider-Woman but then start collecting Jessica Drew stuff? I don't know. That's a little strange. So yeah, I do think she's one. I think they've been shy about doing Werewolf by Night and Dracula because they had those complete collections running. Howard the Duck too. But hopefully we'll get to a point that the complete collections are out of print long enough that they will start redoing in them as Epic collections, especially because in Howard the Duck there's a chance to fill in a few missing things along the way. I do think I personally would map Howard the Duck a little bit differently. But yeah, I think in terms of epics, we're up to things from the late 70s that probably need epics. And then I guess I'm just trying to think about other 90s. Oh, and it would be nice to have epics of the other Spider-Man titles. It's crazy to me that we only have Amazing Spider-Man. Like, now they're doing all these modern Spider-Man epics because they're like, well, we're almost done Amazing. So just finish Amazing and start doing Web or Spectacular, you dinglings. Anyway. Okay, wish Charlie Houston wrote more comics as well. Yeah, I always pretty much liked everything I read from Charlie Houston. Richard saying I first encountered Moon Knight in the Spider-Man Web of Shadows PS3 game. Had never heard of him before. I know we always say people don't come in from other media. They don't, but I think something that we often overlook is people who are already comics fans going to other media and then discovering more about comics from the other media and coming back and being like, oh, now I want to know about that. Because for me, I didn't know anything about Moon Knight, and there was one other character that popped up in that Avengers game where I was like, who? Like, is that real? And then I can't remember who it was, but then I made a guide to them, and then I wound up learning everything about them and really, really loving them. But Moon Knight for me is always going to be that character where I kind of knew he existed. Like, I had trading cards of him in the Marvel cards, but I never had been deep into Moon Knight, and that kind of turned me onto him. Oh, funny you should mention top 10 Super Jop, because this was actually why I made that order from IST that wound up having May in it, because this is in my top 100 reads to read, which is a video I did, I think, back in September, and I didn't have a physical copy of it, and so I knew there was a compendium, and I don't know why I didn't own it before. I guess I wasn't really into compendiums for a while, so I was like, oh, maybe there'll be an omnibus, but the compendium is so affordable. This was only cover price of $60, so on IST, like probably around $40, and everybody told me on one of our indie streams like how impressive it is and how much I should know about it. I think Lars especially. So I was like, easy sale. It's got all creators that I love. It's so this is a DC epic. I always feel like DC's epics, the spine just has a little more wobble to it. It's just not as square. Like, it feels like on a shelf, not only would it sag sideways, but it would have like a little bit of an oblique twist to it. But it's really nice in the hand. It's got that matte cover that they did on everything up until Milestone 4 when they switched it. And the printing's really nice. It's got a nice semi-gloss paper. I mean, and it's the right form factor. Some of those compendiums that are so huge, like the Death of Superman one, it's just comedic. But this one, I'm just trying to see, it's all the way at the bottom. But this one feels like a book you could easily hold and read. So I'm really excited to read this. Hopefully that will be sometime soon, because that was on my list of things to read. Oh, okay. I'm gonna do one more thing, and then I'm gonna get the cool new different thing. The Mystic Art of Erasing All Signs of Death is a great book Houston wrote. He's a good writer. I've never heard of that before. I'm going to star that so I can remember to come back to it. Max saying, amen, Crisis, give us cable, even basic cable. Superjudge says, I don't know, I cut cable years ago. You've all got the jokes. You got the jokes. Superjob, I'm on a roll predicting my purchases. Do I win a no prize? Always for you. The last prize I tried to give it out in the stream, I haven't given out yet, because I was going to get somebody a gift certificate to IST, and the person who guessed what was in it was that on that video is what was in my top 10 reads. The person who guessed, and I don't recall the name off the top of my head, doesn't use IST, so I have to call his local comic shop, which maybe I will do tomorrow. So this is one more drag thing, but it's actually comic adjacent. So this is the winner of Drag Race Season 9, Sasha Velour, who I was in love with from the moment I first saw her on the show. She's an amazing, amazing visual artist, designer, graphic artist, as well as a drag queen. And she is the origination, as far as I know, of that quote, gender is a construct, tear it apart, which you will hear me say pretty often. And so she was often kind of like undercredited a little bit as a winner of Drag Race because Shea Coulee was such a favorite that season. But I actually, I blogged about every episode that season way back at the time. I was like 2015 or 16. And I, at the time, was like, it's going to be Sasha. Like, it's going to be her. And a lot of people were like, there was no evidence that she was going to win. I'm like, that's you rewatching it with modern eyes, just looking at track record. If you were watching at the time, there was this feeling of like, who is she? Like, she's good at everything. And so since she's a graphic designer, a lot of this story, which is a little bit of an autobiography or a little bit of her sense of how she designs and the influences she uses to design, some of it is told as a comic book. And so it's this beautiful, beautiful book. Some of it is just written, but it's all color printing, and there's all photos and sketches throughout on the pages. And then every so often it breaks into little, I mean, I don't want to make it out that there's a lot of comic book. I think there's only like 5 or 6 pages of the comic book throughout, but it's all illustrated and it's all got works from her. And she's just so influential to me. She has this show called Nightgowns that here's some more of her comic. The show called Nightgowns that she tours and hosts that has other drag artists in it. And I get very bored by drag that's just a lip sync. And I don't mean to take away from it, because I've been trying to learn how to do more and more of the fundamentals of drag, and it ain't easy. And the idea of doing all of that drag and having it on your body and then going out and dancing in any kind of rhythm is truly insane. But I, as somebody who is a musical artist and a singer-songwriter, to me, the idea of a lip sync where somebody just goes out for like 4 minutes and lip syncs to somebody else's song, it's just not that exciting to me. Me, who has played 5-hour shows in a bar where I don't put my guitar down a single time in 5 hours. So like, but Sasha's Nightgowns is like, she has people come on and do something that's a visual art. She does this amazing Le Tigre song, Decepticon, where it's like she's dancing, but then there's video of her dancing behind her, and then there's spotlights that are different colors. So when they all line up together, it turns white. And so then the video of her dancing behind her converges on her in the middle. Like it's like real presentations. Drag is a show. Drag is visual art. Drag is design. And so I just really love Sasha Velour. Okay. Hayden saying Sasha was one of those unique, different kinds of queens alongside Sharon, Bianca, and Jinx that the show had never had before. Okay, now I'm going to try to step off the camera. I don't know how I'm going to do that because I've kind of barricaded myself in here to reach something new and different. Oh boy, I don't know. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing a sarong. So if you're just like, what does Crisis have pants on? I do, because I knew I was going to do that that camera thing. I can't escape. I've literally blockaded myself onto screen with comic books, and the thing, I can see the thing that I want to grab, and I'm gonna injure myself. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think I found a way out. That's why I had to do this haul video. People have been hearing me talk about it, like Max and James, and people have been hearing me talk about it for weeks. How I have to do it because I literally, every surface in this room is covered with new books, and if I start shelving them before I do a haul, then I can't tell what actually got hauled. Okay, first of all, this is not what I specifically brought over, but I just got this out to share with Kid Crisis, so I thought you might appreciate it. This is the original 1979 printing of Flight of Dragons, The Flight of Dragons. It's one of my favorite movies. It was a cartoon movie in the 80s. It looks a lot like the Rankin and Bass version of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but it's about this man from the modern world who gets sucked into a fantasy world, and he has written this book in diegetically, it exists in the real world, about how dragons may have been able to fly. And so he gets sucked into a fantasy world with dragons. And so he is speculating on the science of how they're able to operate now that he's witnessing them operating in that world. And the dragons don't know anything about how they fly. So he's trying to explain it with science, and they're trying to explain it back to him. So the contents are flight, flying brick, every breath, legs and wings, dragon blood. And so he goes through and tries to speculate if dragons were to be real. Oh, here's the time scale from the Jurassic world through where dragons may have existed in the Middle Ages. It's really a really cool animated movie. And I didn't realize it was from a book. And when I learned it was from a book, I thought it was going to be from a book that was a book of the story in the movie. But no, it's a book of the science behind the movie, which is really, really cool. And it's got these illustrations are just wild. And what's really funny is the cartooning in the movie really does capture this style, even though it's not quite as ornate as this. It really does capture the way that he illustrates dragons. It's beautiful sewn binding. It's got a little bit of yellowing at the edges of the pages, but again, this book is from 1979. So I got this. I found it actually still had the receipt in it, and I got it in 2016, a month after I left my full-time job to become a full-time stay-at-home parent. So apparently I got it for myself as a gift at that time to keep myself occupied while the child was napping. And so now, of course, she's a big fan of that movie. And I told her I would share it with her. Okay. Oh, some new people have popped in. Locd Daria saying hello. Super Job saying I love the size comparison charts with the mythical creatures. I love the old one in the Call of Cthulhu RPG handbook. Y'all, there is so much more to look through, and I'm not splitting this into two. We're doing it. Okay, so James Abel told me about these comic binders that you can get. They're comic book storage albums by Dunwall, and they hold 6 pages of these clear plastic pages that you can put 2 backing boards worth of comic books into. So they only hold 12 each. In the States, they're between $12 and $16 on Amazon. So not the most cost-effective solution. However, there are some reasons that you might like these for your singles on the shelf. One is that you can slide this out. It's just a pocket and you can print your own spines. The cover is a pocket as well. So you could print your own spine, or you could put another comic in the cover, but I tried on one, and with a backing board, it was a little too thick, so it actually ripped it, which I was pretty pissed about, but I'm trying to show you. There's a little rip there. There, you can see it. But, so honestly, you wouldn't want this for an omnibus-sized run to put on your shelf because you're going to be spending $12 to $13 per 12 to 13 comic books, basically $1 per comic. Omnibuses are already like $1 per comic, so you don't want to pay the price of an omnibus for floppies you have just to get it on the shelf. However, if you have a short run that's only 12 or 24 issues and it represents a break between things on your shelf, this is a really good solution. BCW does bigger binders that are like 3-ring binders that are a little more cost effective, but they don't have the spine pocket. So you can't actually put anything on the spine, and 3-ring binders have a pretty hefty width to them because they have to have the room for the D-rings. There's also these comic storage boxes, which a lot of people are fans of, that they're just basically magazine storage boxes. They're hollow and they do have a strip that you can put on the spine, and you basically just drop your comics into them so you can slide them off the shelves and there's mini storage. I think that's probably the best solution for a lot of people who just want easy access to their comics, but it doesn't have this ability to open it up like a book and flip through, which I really like. So the reason I got these, now that I've given you the long introduction, is because I think right before I got injured, pulled the trigger on one of my most wanted runs of singles. I found it all as a single set with every issue on eBay. The shipping was more expensive than the actual comic books, but I now own a complete collection of the 1990s Vengeance of Vampirella. It has never been collected. I'm sure now Dynamite will get right to it now that I put money into it. But I have every issue of the 25-issue run, including the Wizard half issues, and including a one-shot that started in the middle of one of the stories. And not only do I have it, because as I was looking at buying it, I was like, what am I going to do with all of these single comic books? And not only like, what am I going to do on the shelf, but like, how am I even going to appreciate them? Because singles are so clumsy, but that's why I like this, because I like the ability to flip through and not just have them in a box. So I really, really dig this. I got these specifically for this run. I can't tell you the last time I ordered a run of singles. I know I keep threatening to order a full run of every Malibu single ever, but that still has not happened because that would cost so much money to ship here. I truly can't tell you the last time I got singles. I don't know if I've ordered any singles to be shipped to New Zealand since I've been in New Zealand, honestly. But this is a run that I had no other way. Oh, you know, I think Bloodstrike. At some point I realized I was missing some issues. Oh, these are some duplicates at the back. So I had a duplicate of one with a different foil in this amazing lot that I got from eBay. And then I had this amazing duplicate of 25. It's so cool. It's like... So now I've got them on the shelf right next to all my other Vampirella, which I think is so, so cool. So I love these little binders. I'm actually thinking about reaching out, and I guess since I just talked about this on here, let me do my pitch. Hold on. Ready? Because I'm gonna send them anchored to here. Okay. Hey everybody, here we are. Hi. Hello everybody, here we are to talk about these Dunwall comic book storage albums. They're a great way to get floppy comics onto your shelf. They are very sturdy, kind of plastic or vinyl storage books that have 6 of these hard or soft plastic but hard bound in pages in, and each page can hold 2 backed and boarded floppy comics. So I've got a run of Vampirella from the 1990s in here, and this is a great way to get runs like this onto your shelf. You can even slide out the tab on the spine to put in your own printed tab so it matches the spines of other books in the shelf with you. And you could also do custom covers as well, though I have not yet, but it's another plastic pocket that you can insert. So this is a really great option for you. And the reason I did that pitch is because, y'all, you got to figure out how to send a big box of these to me in New Zealand. I can't pay the Amazon price for one of them at a time and then the shipping on that. You know how much one of these was in New Zealand dollars? I shudder to tell you. 53 New Zealand dollars. 53. So we got to work out a deal, okay? That's why I gave you a little commercial there. Okay. Hustle. You're on our balls. Hustle. You know, I have so many ideas for what I want to do in the new year, and a lot of those ideas started before the hand and wrist injury and arm injury, and some of the ideas have come after. But I have so many things I want to do, and hopefully life opens up and allows me to do them. Okay, we have to keep moving because there's an absolutely comedic amount of books left. Okay, I think I've exposed all of the books from one particular thing that I wanted to talk about. So this was also on my top 100. And I was like, I don't know if there's any way to read it, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. Well, then my little itchy finger got on eBay, and now I have every collection of the Tick, except for one that Curtis has. I found one copy on the entire internet, and it was in Canada, so I sent it to Curtis, and one day he's going to send it to me, but it's no hurry. So Tick, I can't even fully explain it to you because I'm going to make a guide, and then it'll be fully explained. But basically, they put out a series of trades that had about 9 to 15 issues each, and the trade paperbacks don't even have an ISBN. There's no ISBN in the indicia, and there's no true ISBN on the UPC. It's like UPC, just like a regular product or like a magazine or something. But there's so much Tick to have, and it's incredibly, incredibly out of print. So there are a few of them that are relatively easy to get, like Karma Tornado. This is one of the easier ones that you can get online. But then Color Series, I forget which one of these, Color Series 1 or Color Series 2 is like impossible. There's like 2 copies on the entire internet. Somebody sent me one by mistake. I ordered something different and they sent me Color Series instead, and I was like, thank you very much. So this is what a lot of people actually want to read, which is the Tick in color, which is why these are so hard to get a hold of. Then, hold on, there's more. Oh, this is really, really cool and funny. So this is Tick Golden Age, where they did 3 issues in the style of him having his own Golden Age comic. This book, I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain this or show you. These are real individual issues. This is a cardboard cover of an individual issue followed by individual pages. And then we get to the cardboard cover end of the issue and then another issue. This is 3 original Tick issues bound together as an official trade paperback release, glue bound into a trade paperback wrapper. Again, with no real ISBN, no way to identify it on the internet, which is part of why they are so hard to get a hold of, but I found a copy. There's actually a different cover of that too. Then there's 1 or 2 more that I guess maybe I've already shelved somewhere. But then he has 2 supporting series. The Man-Eating Cow, this is all in black and white. And Paul the Samurai, also entirely in black and white. These 2 I got because I found an eBay seller who bought the complete liquidated contents of that comic book company, NEC, New England Comics, their booth from the canceled Comic-Con in 2020 when we were in full height of pandemic. They've bought like I guess they like needed to liquidate all of the stuff that they got shipped to them at the con. And so this company bought all the stuff and then they're selling it liquidated on eBay. And so I was like, oh, it's my chance. So I now have everything. I know because I have my own little paperback or handwritten list, but I have everything except for that one that I had to get mailed to Curtis. So some of them I've either shown already or I just didn't figure out where to put them in the stacks. But now I finally can do a guide to the Tick because I started one and I got hours and hours into it. And it's one of those ones that got me so waylaid that I didn't get to keep working on guides, and I like quit for a while because I was so flummoxed by it. But it's because I didn't own any of it. So it was hard for me to explain, what is it about? Where is it? What, how has it been collected? Well, now I've got it all on my shelf, every modern Tick collection ever. And I can handle that. If anybody knows how to turn off this recontrasting thing in Windows 11, dear Jesus, would you please tell me how? Because it's driving me up the wall. Okay. I'm in devices. I'm in camera. I'm in camera device settings, and there's no setting for like stop adjusting my shit every time I move. There's no setting for that. I tried to go to advanced options. There's no advanced option. So I don't know. Okay. Here's something. Why did I buy it? I don't know. It was on sale at IST. It's the Complete Crisis on Infinite Earths Deluxe Edition. I'm not taking it out of the wrapper right now. Do I have this in paperback? Yes. Have I ever read it? No. Do I have this in at least the first third of it in DC Finest? I absolutely do. Have I cracked that open? No. Am I named after it? Technically, yes. Am I ever going to read it all the way through? Maybe, because now I understand DC's pre-crisis history so much better than I did at any point previously. I have made 4 incredibly concerted, solid attempts to read Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it has bounced me off of it every time. I think it is incredibly hard to read, incredibly hard to parse, and I think if you don't understand DC's pre-crisis history, it's not going to make any sense to you. And since I did not understand DC's pre-crisis history, it did not make any sense to me. Now I feel like I understood a lot more, and I think that I am finally going to appreciate it the next time I take a chance. So people are talking about the storage binders. And Superjob saying the only negative is that everybody's now writing for the storage binder. Yeah, instead of writing for trade. That's funny. Richard saying spoon. Superjob with a spoon. But do I have the animated series on DVD? No. I would like to get it though, because the kid really wants to watch it, and I don't think it's streaming on Prime, even though they have the live action series. So yeah. LOCD saying makeup looks good regardless. Thank you. I mean, I literally could not hold a makeup brush for the past 6 weeks, and I have to do this finger exercise where I circle my hand and I go like this to re-strengthen all these muscles. So after a couple of weeks of doing this, I was like, I think I can hold a makeup brush for long enough periods of time to get the makeup onto my face. So this is the first time I've been in face in weeks. Here's something, it's not quite a compendium, yet not quite a DC Finest, and I was going to skip it for that reason, but it's such a complete run of a character I really, really like. So I went for it. It's this Dr. Fate by J.M. DeMatteis. It just makes me angry. It's a little too long to be a Finest, right? It's like this would be, let's see, it's 780 pages. The longest Finest is like 672. So it's like 100 pages too long to be a Finest. Is it a compendium? Almost. I mean, let's get that top 10 compendium out again. It's virtually the same length as top 10. So why is it not a compendium? I don't know. Why didn't they just start a DC Finest line? I don't know. It just feels like DC has these 2 good things going, and they didn't do either of them. They didn't do either of them. They just did this instead. I think we're just going to call it a compendium. Yarn Pauls is saying it's a compendium to me. I agree. It's just a compendium. I'm just going to shelve it with my compendium. It's got semi-gloss paper. The restoration looks great. But it just feels like they could have started a DC Finest line for him, because there's more Fate before and after this, and they're not going to put out books that match this. So why not just start it? I just don't understand. I don't understand. But I like Dr. Fate, and I've always wanted to own this. So now I have it. I've never read Dr. Fate. Where would be a good place to start? Here. This. Literally this. This is the place to start. It's one of the few Dr. Fate collections that has ever existed. I do have a guide for him for, I think, $2 and up patrons. But spoilers, there's virtually no Dr. Fate that has ever been suggested. Okay, now we're getting some troubleshooting about my computer. There should be something in more settings, Pro mode, that turns off the, okay, so let's see. Camera Pro mode? No. I don't know. I'll have to try later. That's the thing. I've had this computer for, I got it like maybe a week or 2 before the injury, because I was still like getting it all set up, and then like it arrived. But there's so many things that I just have not figured out about it yet. And so it's not like quite ready for prime time. It does have advanced camera settings, but it doesn't let me turn off all that nonsense. So I don't know. I'll figure it out later. But we got it. Otherwise, I think it does look lovely. And I also think it's got some kind of skin smoothing on it already, because I look a little bit more plastic than I do in real life right now. I'm not objecting, but this is not quite what I'm actually looking like in the real world. Okay, let's continue. I can't believe I gotta stop reaching with this arm because it's starting to hurt. Okay. I also, if you remember my last haul, had finally decided to go in on oversized Wonder Woman. So I got 2 more that didn't make it into that haul. This is the Wonder Woman by Phil Jimenez book. I've never read this run. I've heard it's incredibly wordy and hard to get through. I will be the decider of that. Of course, I already have it in floppies. And then I also have this wonderful Greg Rucka Wonder Woman, which is a highly regarded run. Again, I've read some of this. I've read the Hikiata, but and I've read some of the issues for my guide, but I've never read it all the way through. So now I have that as well, which means I now have every oversized Wonder Woman book that has ever been released, except for New 52 Wonder Woman by Azarella and Chang, because fuck that comic book. They should do the Rebirth Rucker run. We're getting into Rebirth omnibuses now, so it seems possible. All right. Again, something I owned already, so I'm not going to linger on it too long. I bought the Authority Omnibus Volume 1. I have this in, I think I have it in hardcover and paperback, but not oversized. Because getting the original issues of the Authority, when I put all my original issues together for Wildstorm, was cost prohibitive. The Authority is just still too hype of a book, and now even more so. We're talking 10 years ago, I was trying to get the single issues and they were too expensive. So I bought the collected edition, but part of me is like, I'm done. I have all of Wildstorm. I don't need to do this. But then part of me is like, if I don't support it in oversized, are we ever going to get more of it in oversized? So I supported it, and sure enough, after supporting it, we got this, which is mapped. I can't even hold it up. I can't even get this arm involved in this, which is mapped really, really well. It's a second omnibus, and I'm not going to read everything that's in it, but it's mapped gloriously. It's the whole middle swath of all the Authority miniseries and smaller ongoing series all in one book. So if we get a third Authority omnibus, all it needs to do is collect the World's End stuff, and then we'll have every Authority issue ever. So I hope they're going to do a volume 3. This one is, I literally cannot support it with this hand. It'll hurt my elbow too much. I can just like kind of like go like that a little bit. But it's huge. And if you like the Authority, I'm not saying that all the material in that is the toppest of top quality, but the map of it is wonderful. Yeah. Okay. I can't even put my glasses on to read from the computer anymore because I have my contacts in. Contacts are magical. I don't feel them or anything. I just need them to be a little stronger. I think they gave me like a general prescription, but I need to tell them I need it just to see things that are like this far away. Although then I guess I would have still crashed my bike. Okay. What's wrong with Azrael and Chang? It's a wonderful run, and many, many people love it super, super much. It's very much in contradiction to the Perez origin of Wonder Woman, which to me is totally sacrosanct. So to like go against the Perez origin of Wonder Woman, I just can't appreciate it. Also, it's kind of, I don't know, it takes Diana so far in the direction of mythology that she kind of stops feeling like a symbol of love as Wonder Woman. I really think they leaned into like Wonder Woman as Hercules, and I just don't. I need Wonder Woman. She's a warrior, and I think she's the ultimate warrior, but she's also the ultimate symbol of love to me, and I think if you get too far afield from that, I start to get a little antsy. I got a pair of modern epics for Guardians of the Galaxy because I kind of forgot if I had this at all. So I went around, because in my mind, I own everything from Marvel from 2000 to 2015. And unless they never reprinted it, actually, if they didn't reprint it, I tracked it down in floppies for major stuff, like not like random little miniseries, but anything that was like a major run of a Silver Surfer, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men, Spider-Man. If it existed between 2000 and 2015, I have it. But I had this moment of like, do I have this? So I went looking around the house for it, and I don't think I ever got the complete collections because I have the omnibus, the DNA omnibus, Abnett and Lanning omnibus, and still in shrink wrap, never unwrapped, because I wound up reading this ultimately on Marvel Unlimited. But I kind of abandoned buying omnibuses of anything that wasn't X-Men after a point. So this was like a rare gap for me in paperback. Like I just didn't have a paperback version of it, it turned out. So I got these two, which collects all the way from their Annihilation Star Conquest Star-Lord miniseries, which is not in that omnibus, but it is kind of where the band gets together. Then it has the first 12 issues of Guardians in this one, and then it has the up to 25 in this one, and this also has Thanos Imperative, Ignition, and Thanos Imperative 1 through 4. So that is kind of like the complete Guardians story. There's more stuff after this with the Annihilators, but it's not really Guardians. So this is all of Guardians that exists that inspired the movie. After this, there is their appearance in the 8 issues of Avengers Assemble 2012, which was the bridge from Heroic Age Avengers to bring Thanos back onto Earth and kind of set up Thanos as a villain again so that Hickman could use him in the Infinity Saga, but also so that fans would be familiar with him from the movies. And then after this is Bendis' Guardians. So if you buy these two epic collections, this is everything Guardians that inspired the movie, and it's really great reading. It's not as, I wouldn't say it's as funny as the movie. It's humorous, and Rocket is funny in it. Drax has his funny moments. It doesn't quite have the tone of the movie, but it's everything else about the movie was drawn from that run. Okay. Cliff Chang rocks hard on that Wonder Woman book. Yeah, the art is pretty cool. I've literally just started Perez. The first 2 issues were phenomenal. It's possibly my favorite comic book run of the entire 80s and 90s, Logan Wayne. Azrael and Chang is the only full Wonder Woman I've read. It's pretty good God of War comic. Exactly. That's perfect. I'm going to steal that from you, Richard. It's a God of War comic. It's Wonder Woman starring in the God of War video game. That's why it doesn't appeal to me. I've got all 3 finest. I need to read Golden and Bronze Age still. Those Guardians of the Galaxy books, says Def Kiss, are good. DNA killed in that area. I agree. They were one of those author team-ups that could not fail. Superdrop saying, speaking of Cliff Chang, what's my opinion on Paper Girls? Paper Girls, again, if you like Paper Girls, watch Primer. But Paper Girls was one of those ones. Brian K. Vaughan, love him. Love his concepts. Love his writing. He never quite delivers for me in the end. He never does. In the end, I'm always like, but it's like there's always a point right around the 40% mark of every Brian K. Vaughan series where I realize he's not going to pay off all of the world building he created. True in Y the Last Man, true in Ex Machina, true in Saga, it seems. True, it's always, every single time. It doesn't mean his books are bad, but I am somebody who loves world building. And if you build a cool enough world for me and you don't keep telling the story that I think should exist in that world, I will just check out and make it up in my head. And that's why I love Lazarus by Greg Rucka, because I feel like Greg Rucka and Michael Lark, they're using every ounce of part of that world. Every mile, every inch, every centimeter is being referenced in some way. So it feels really fully realized. So for me, Brian K. Vaughan just sometimes doesn't feel like he takes it there. And that's how I felt about Paper Girls. It just was so cool. The characters were so well defined. The time travel-y aspect of it was so cool. And then we got to the halfway point. I'm like, oh, we're really not addressing all of that stuff that I wanted to. The story is really only going to do this little bit of the story. So I finished reading it and it was fine, but it just never quite excited me as much as the beginning of it excited me. Am I selling the Omni then? If you're in New Zealand, Defkid said, I don't like the new Cosmic series that just came out. I forgot the name, but I'm reading the new Nova. Well, Jed McKay writing Nova feels like a match made in heaven to me. Adrian Montana saying that I've just finished the final Crisis Omnibus. Oh, that is a challenging read. Honestly, could have never read it and got the cliff notes and been okay. Honestly, the tie-ins felt more interesting than the main event. I'm with you on that 100%. Here are the comics of what will, if it's not the next guide that I'll put up on Crushing Crisis, it's certainly going to be one of the next 2 or 3 guides. These have gone unreprinted since, I think, 2006. So I paid, this is the most irresponsible purchase I've made in New Zealand, I think. Even those Vampirella books, even though the shipping was more expensive than the comics, I got the comics for a steal. I mean, it was the 25 original issues and then all of the variant covers and everything. So it was something like a 35 issue lot of pretty obscure 90s comics. And I think I paid less than $4 an issue. That, before shipping, that was a steal. This was irresponsible. So, some of them are in such nice condition and some of them are not. So let me put them in order. 1, 7. So this is another book that's in my top 100 comics to read, which is a video on the channel. And this is the only way to get it all comprehensively. And I will have a guide explaining what's in every single one. This is the complete, every single story except for a new 3-issue series, which I have to track down in floppies. Paul Chadwick's Concrete. These are digest sized, which I did not realize when I started buying them. So they're all, here's a full-size trade, and they're all digest sized. And what's interesting is it doesn't just collect Concrete exactly in chronological order. It kind of picks and chooses, because he did a lot of Concrete stories in Dark Horse Presents and other short format books. And so this picks and chooses, oh, there's some stuff in here I can't show on YouTube. Good to know. Okay. But it's this man who gets turned into this walking concrete bunker. He's kind of the Thing, but a rounder version. And it's not about him as a superhero. He could be a superhero, but it's about he was an author, but he can't write anymore. So now he needs somebody to give dictation to so he can continue to write. It's about him and his relationship. It's about him caring about kind of the environment and ecological causes. And I love Paul Chadwick's art. He's one of my favorite, I think, artists from the 80s and 90s that I've kind of discovered as I've learned more about comics. And I've just always wanted to read this. And these 7 trade paperbacks, digest-sized trade paperbacks, were the only way to get all of the stuff from Concrete. So now I have them all. I'm almost done a Concrete guide that's going to explain what's in all these and why it's not all perfectly sequential, but it's still, you'll get it all if you get all these. I did a lot of notes and math to make sure it made sense, because there were some collections of Concrete previously that just collected his early stories, because the early stories that were in all the anthology books were like really, really infamous and well loved. So you can get those trades, but they're actually split across, I think, these first 5 volumes. So this will be an upcoming guide on Crushing Crisis. I'm trying to do more indie guides that kind of like answer that fundamental question of how can I read blank? Like, how can I read Concrete? What's in the Claws oversized hardcover? Because they're not as hard as like my traditional guides that track every appearance of every character, every team, but there's still questions that are out there that nobody's answered satisfactorily. Like I was on the Concrete Wikipedia page forever trying to make sense of it, and somebody put a lot of care and effort into it, and I really appreciate them, but it just doesn't explain it at a atomized like point by point, issue by issue, story by story way. Okay, somebody's saying something. Oh, Super Panda got a big promotion at work and can finally buy the books I've been drooling over for so long. Congratulations, Super Panda. I'm sure it was very, very well deserved. The amount of packages arriving at my house is ridiculous. I have been through that stage before. Congratulations so much. YouTube loves Concrete Wang, says Super Job. That's going on my list. Well, hopefully Glitter and Duct Tape, since I spent all of the money shipping them all here. Because the thing is, you can get stuff from eBay shipped here, but the shipping to New Zealand, I have to take this off. I'm doing too much of this, which is what it's protecting me from, but I'm starting to give myself like a blister. There's no such thing as shipping to New Zealand. Oh, I think I already got a blister. There's no such thing that's shipping to New Zealand for like less than $25. And if you just get one book and there's nothing else in your order, it's still going to cost $25. So a lot of the vendors that I found those on only had one of them. So I basically was having to pay $25 for each one on top of what they cost. But the actual cost of the paperbacks was, sometimes I think one of them I got for like $6, but then one of them was kind of obscure and it was like $30. But I had to pay $25 on top of every one because none of them came from the same place. So that was annoying and slightly irresponsible. I don't think I've showed this off on stream yet. This is the cover of the first comic book that I ever bought with my own money that got me started on this journey. X-Men 1991, number 3. And this is the now infamous, already, because of how quickly it sold out, X-Men Blue and Gold, Mutant Genesis. Now, will Marvel continue this in a coherent way to a next book? You never know, because they're a bunch of dumbasses. This really might be the only thing that exists in this format. It's absolutely in the perfect order of the Epic collections. It's in reading order. It has Uncanny X-Men and X-Men 1991 together in integrated reading order in a way that they've been presented in the Epic collections, which is exactly how I say that they should be read in my Crushing Crisis guides. This is, to me now, the #1 X-Men book to buy. It's the perfect midpoint between classic X-Men and modern X-Men, even though it's from 1990, which is a long time ago now. It's got the Jim Lee art and designs. It's got all of Executioner's songs, so you get one big crossover. It's got the Mutant Genesis story. It's got Omega Red. It's got Magneto. It's got Mr. Sinister. It's got Apocalypse. It has the introduction of Bishop. It has the Hellfire Club. It has Sentinels. It has Mojo. It has the Brood. This is the Bible of X-Men for me. You'll never again hear me recommend that somebody should start with a Claremont book. I mean, Claremont writes 3 issues in this. You'll never again hear me say, oh, maybe Morrison, New X-Men, maybe Whedon. I will always say this. This is where you should start. Is it the best written comics in the world? Actually, I really like them. I love Scott Lobdell in this era. I think the art is spectacular. The characters are spectacular. Some of the issues of Uncanny, like Uncanny 284 through 289, are not the best issues ever. But to me, if you love the X-Men cartoon and you've always said, where is that magic from the X-Men cartoon that in the comic books? Like, where do the comic books feel like the cartoon? This is the answer. There is, I think, going to be a restock of this because I know it sold out in a lightning flash. Look, we don't know. There could be 2 or 3 more Blue and Golds to follow this that would take us all the way in that perfected Epic Collection reading order to Age of Apocalypse. We have no idea if Marvel's going to do that or not. Omar and I have mapped it, and I can tell you exactly what each book should have in it, and it will pick up some stuff that have never been collected coherently and oversized, including the Gambit miniseries, the Bishop miniseries, but that's a topic for another time. Even if that never happens, this still is a good buy because it combines the contents partially of Claremont and Lee Volume 2, of Bishop's Crossing, of Executioner's Song, and of Shattershot, all in a single book in coherent reading order. So it could not have my higher recommendation. It's my favorite X-Men comics. It's all in one place, all in perfect crisis approved reading order. Okay, let's see. Digital reading feels so much more disposable to me. I decided after I did that top 100 stream, Reaper, I decided that I wanted those top 100 books in physical. Even if I don't love all of them, to me, that's what my collection should be. It should be things that I really, really like passionately wanted to read. It shouldn't just be every little trade of some series that I may or may not be following. So this is all of this purchasing, which has a lot more omnibuses that I usually buy, a lot more indie series than I usually buy. That's why it's such a big haul. It was inspired by that. I'm perfectly happy to read digital usually. Nobody should have as many books in their house as I have in my house. It's unreal. It's not sustainable. But I made a decision that I was going to spend a little money and get some of these things into the house that I've always wanted, and that is over now. Super Job, all this hauling is cutting into my Tom King reading, just so I know. I'm very happy to say that. Def Kiss, I'd love to have that X-Men book. I'd love for you to have it. Reaper, if I buy a Rachel Summers figure, would I want it? I really want it. I'd have to find somewhere in New Zealand that has it. Marvel Legends on the shelf are like $60 here, so if I want to just find somebody who has it, some toy store that has it in stock, and just get it. I haven't bought a Marvel Legends since 2018, but Rachel Summers in the Phoenix costume with the Phoenix wings is a must-have for me. Blue and Gold, one of those books I got. I can't wait to read it. Richard 842 saying the way it's sold, I think it's the case of when, not if the next 2 volumes are coming. Richard, I would never trust Marvel to get something right, especially not recently. Their current collected editions team just doesn't seem to understand the trust that has formed for Marvel in the market based on Marvel making consistent decisions. And so they're starting to make inconsistent decisions, and they're going to find that the trust evaporates real fast. Okay. Superdog was only reading X-Force at the time. Honestly, I feel that X-Force was the best X book. From after Executioner's Song through after Fatal's Attractions, X-Force was the best book. Nicieza and Capullo, come on. That's high quality. Fifth of Jack Gaming, hello, friend. I'm so happy I picked up that X-Men Blue and Gold. I hope they print more of it. Logan Wayne saying, I feel exactly the same. This is where I started reading X-Men and comics in general. Yorne Pauls, is Brood Trouble in the Big Easy in that book? Yes, it is, because it has X-Men 1991, 1 through, what would that be, 14, 15, 16. So that was issue 8, so it is in there. Fifth of Jack decided to jump on the Krakoa train. Hopefully they print all of it all the way through. I would just say, in terms of what we know of Marvel and how much we can trust them to do, I think we can trust them to get all the way to the end of Hickman in those anthology books. If you have faith that they're going to do everything in anthology, you need to reset your expectations. This is not based on any insider knowledge I have with Omar. I'm just saying, don't get your hopes up too high. I think assuming they're going to get through the end of Hickman is probably a safe assumption, considering the direction we've gone in. Are they ever going to reprint X of Swords? Who knows? Okay. Logan Wayne, what arcs do I think will be in a potential Blue and Gold Volume 2? There's a huge video on Omar's channel where we go issue by issue. Just look for X-Men Blue and Gold mapping on YouTube. You will find it. It's 3 hours of us answering that question. Richard 842 saying, well, if they don't give me more Fabian Nicieza volumes, I'll flip out. Zero Zaku 1468 just wanted to stop in and say hi, Crisis. I hope all is well. Things are getting better, which is good. All right, we're finally almost to the bottom of this all. I also have some random other things that I got in the mail, but I just don't, this laptop I got in the mail, but I just don't think I'm going to like show you every piece of mail that I got for the past 4 months, because that could be potentially overwhelming. And I got new supplements back when I was exercising every day. I got new sneakers. I got really cool new sneakers, and it wasn't just like a vanity purchase. My feet and my ankles and my calves were hurting so bad, and I was waiting for a chance to talk to a podiatrist, and the podiatrist will not accept the referral from my physical therapist. I've been referred like 8 times. The podiatrist is like, that's okay. You just sit, which honestly, pluses and minuses of socialized healthcare. You can't just go to somebody and be like, book me, pay me, like I'll pay you, take my insurance. Like the system, if you find a certain kind of provider that's backed up, it is that backed up, and that is just the story, and you have no power to change that. So I was waiting to get shoes until I saw a podiatrist. I wound up not being able to wait that long. So I got these new shoes, and they're amazing. My running pace immediately got like a kilometer an hour faster on my first run. And I don't run that fast, so that's like a big change. So yeah, new shoes, new supplements, all my various arm support stuff. I got some new makeup, but we're just sticking with comics right now. And we're almost to the bottom. So this is a Daredevil Epic Collection, Daredevil Volume 8. We're finally into collecting Frank Miller Daredevil in Epic Collection. It's one of those runs that they've avoided all the way from the beginning because they didn't want to go back. The whole point of Epics is we're going to give you the obscure shit. We're going to give you stuff that's never been printed before. We're going to collect around the omnibuses. That was part of the original sales pitch for the Epics. And so they purposely have avoided things like Claremont and Lee X-Men. There's only one Epic covering any of that material, I believe. They specifically avoided Walt Simonson Thor. We were just now getting to that in Epic after 12 years of Epics. And we are just now getting to Frank Miller Daredevil in Epic. I think I am now going to sell all of my Daredevil Marvel Masterworks. I think I'm happy now that we're this far in Epics. I'm happy to just stick with Epics. So if you live in New Zealand, you want like 18 Daredevil Masterworks, they're going to go up for sale pretty shortly. Oh no, I just found an additional stack. An additional stack has hit the crisis. These are also new books. I always get 2 copies of every new X-Men Epic Collection because one goes into Kid Crisis's collection. She reads them constantly, so they take some well-worn damage, but so I got 2 copies. This is actually one of my favorite runs of X-Men. This is actually, yeah, this is one of my favorite runs of X-Men. It starts in 199 and is 199 to 210. So this is exactly before Mutant Massacre. It used to be in a slim paperback called X-Men Ghosts, but this also has X-Men Annual 9 and 10, New Mutant Special Edition 1, and a story from Marvel Fanfare 33, which is written by Claremont. Actually, probably my favorite run of Uncanny X-Men is right before this. I really like when John Romita Jr. takes over from Paul Smith. So like, I don't know, like what is that, 176, 177 through 201? That's really, for me, the 2 years that are my favorite 2 years of X-Men. But this is still really, really good leading up to the start of Mutant Massacre. Okay. Then I'm always on my Spawn bullshit. So this is Haunt. Did I show this? I can't remember if I've shown this on a stream before. But this is a complete series of Haunt. It was written by quite a stellar group of creators. Robert Kirkman with Ryan Otley, Greg Capullo, Todd McFarlane, Jonathan Glampion, and FCO Placencia. So this is like, oh wow, I just opened up to a really cool page. This does have the covers in it, unlike the Spawn compendiums. It's really on some nice, thick, glossy paper. It's really thick. I keep thinking that I've got 2 pages and it turns out that I only have 1. And this is all of Haunt. So as you can tell, I'm trying to get all of Spawn through like 2010-ish so I can just read all of the Spawn books totally all-inclusive. And this is one of the elements of that. Okay. So they have a running store that can fit you for the right shoe. There is one like that, but I have learned, LOCD Daria, through my many years, I have feet that are different sizes from themselves, and they're very weirdly shaped, and I do all this bad foot stuff. I can only wear Sauconys. I have tried every shoe out there. I've tried New Balance. I've tried Asics. I've tried those newfangled New Zealand Hoka shoes. I've tried everything. Literally, if I put on something other than Saucony, it's like I'm gonna fall over. It's like I'm a Barbie with like the weird Barbie feet and I can't stand. Sauconys are the only shoe. I do then need some additional recommendations and support and things inside of those shoes. But every year I go in and I go, it's not like I want to buy the Sauconys. Have me try on lots of stuff, and I try on like 8 different kinds of shoes and I leave with a Saucony. And that has been the case since 2009. So 16 years. But yes, they do have one of those stores here. Adrian Montana's asking, I've read all of the Flash post-Crisis series. Now I read Final Crisis to see Barry's return. Should I read the Geoff Johns Volume 3 content without reading the full Blackest Day event? I don't know Flash well enough to answer that question. I do know that there is an omnibus worth of non-omnibus material that happens around the same time of that spawns out of Final Crisis that has Wally in it, or maybe even Bart Allen in it. But I don't know. I mean, it's all in my Flash guide, but I don't know the story material well enough, unfortunately, to answer that question. Okay, are the Spawn compendiums glossy stock? Yes, they are very, very glossy stock. And Super Drop always thought Haunt looked like a symbiote. Pardon me. I agree. Haunt looks like now I have a big lipstick print on my hand. And nothing to wipe it on. We need some kind of tissues or something in this, because that's going to wind up on a book. All right. Guess what? Sarongs are great for that. Okay. All right, we're almost to the end. This is DC Finest Static The Birth of Cool. This is Static's series from 1993 to 1994. It has his original 15 issues of his series and then only his parts of the crossover of Worlds Collide. All of this is inside the Milestone Compendiums. So if you have the Milestone Compendiums, you only also need this if you're a sick person like me and are getting all the finest additionally, or if you just want Static. So that's what this is. Have I read any of that yet? No. I almost have a full guide to the Milestone universe, but I wanted to wait to see how they mapped the final compendium before I committed that. Then we have this Supergirl DC Finest. This is DC Finest Supergirl Body and Soul, which is the beginning of Peter David's run on Supergirl starting in 1996. It's Supergirl 1 through 18, Supergirl Annual 1 and 2, and Supergirl Plus #1. So many people have asked me so many times, have you read Peter David's Supergirl? And my answer is no, I never have. So now I finally will have the opportunity to. You would not believe how many books are left. Okay, let's just, some of these do not need that long to talk about. Okay, that's the exact thing I'm not supposed to be doing with my arm. So when you break your elbow in every possible way, the way that I have, it's, you're not supposed to do like that kind of motion, anything overhead, because you lose the fine ability to control this. So a lot of pitchers have that problem. And so I've not put my hand or my arm like above my shoulder really very much recently. So speaking of Crisis on Infinite Earths, this is a fun haul where I get to show the same book two different ways. We just saw the oversized version of this. Here is the first edition of DC Finest Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's going to be between 3 or 4 volumes because they're not only collecting Crisis, they're collecting all of the tie-in issues to Crisis as well, and they're putting them in reading order, which is pretty cool. So this is Crisis on Infinite Earths 1, then All-Star Squadron 50 and 51, then and 52, and then The Fury of Firestorm, and then Infinity Inc. So this is like a perfected reading order Crisis on Infinite Earths across multiple paperbacks, which is something Marvel nor DC ever really does when it comes to events, to put it in perfect reading order in a paperback. So that is pretty cool, and I'm very excited to add that to my shelf. Am I going to read that or the oversized deluxe one? I don't know. Richard, I did see that I couldn't remember if I knew that as a spoiler, like if somebody told me that, like, don't tell anybody, but the Supergirl's coming. But no, that is a public piece of information. We're getting another Supergirl DC Finest to continue that Supergirl volume next year. All right, just a few more things. We have DC Finest Super Friends, which is the Super Friends comic books that are not quite in continuity, that match the appearance of the Super Friends on their cartoon show, which then, of course, in the 1980s spawned the Kenner toys, which were some of my favorite toys and how I got introduced to all of these characters. This has lovely, lovely artwork in it. Including artwork from Ramona Fradon, who is incredible, and of course the original Super Twins. So that is very, very fun. Another DC Finest. We're down all to paperbacks now. All paperbacks left. Oh my gosh. How have I... What... Again, this is... I think we decided it was 3 months of hauls. So before you judge me too hard, it was 3 months of hauls. And some of them were ordered with this injury where I couldn't do anything but sit on my computer and order things because I couldn't play guitar and I couldn't swim and I couldn't do makeup. And so I all I could do was read and think of more things that I wanted to read. So let's go through the last few things here. We have a Venom Epic Collection. This is Venom Epic Collection number 6, collecting all of Venom's various miniseries from 1995 to 1996. If you don't know about the Wonder Twins, thank you, not the Super Twins. If you don't know about how Venom existed in the 90s, he never had his own ongoing series. He had 62 consecutive issues of miniseries, and they were not legacy numbered, so it's really hard to figure out what order they go in. But the Venom omnibuses and the Epic Collections collect them in a perfect order, and my Venom guide, which is Patreon only, has them all sequentially so you can see what order they go into if you're trying to read them on Marvel Unlimited. So this takes us, does this take us quite to the end? I feel like we have the one that actually goes all the way to the end already, I want to say, but this takes us all the way through Venom the Hunted in 1996. It also has the Planet of the Symbiotes material in it. Let's see. We have another Micronauts Epic Collection. This is Micronauts Epic Collection number 3 with Micronauts 1979, 36 through 50. I think there's one more Epic collection to come that's got like the new Micronauts or something like that. I haven't read any of this yet, but I've been collecting them now because once they go out of print, they're going to be out of print because Marvel is licensing that property from somebody else in order to print it. You can tell I'm really speeding up because we're at the 2 hour, although I will say, usually the 2 hour mark, when I'm on the old computer, the computer is in full on meltdown. Like it like can't deal with being heated up this long or being on the internet that long. Not this time, baby. We could go for 5 hours if we wanted to, but we're not doing that because my arm hurts and I need to put it back in the brace. Okay, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books left. Here we go. We have Ghost Rider, Epic Collection, Volume 3. This is classic Ghost Rider, so Johnny Blaze's Ghost Rider. This, of course, has been collected in Masterworks, and the Epics are flying through it, blazing, one might say. This is Ghost Rider 29 through 50 and Marvel Team Up 91. So this series, I want to say, was either 72 or 84 issues. So we're going to need another, let's see, this has got, what, a solid 20 issues in it. We're probably going to need 1 or 2 more Epics to finish this line. I got this, I don't know why. It was on sale on IST. I had a couple of IST orders where I was like, I could throw a couple more things into them to meet the order, to meet the shipping. Not meet the shipping, but like the shipping was already what it was going to be to ship to New Zealand, so I could throw in some relatively light books. This is called Yeah! And it is a indie version sort of Josie and the Pussycats. It's just about this girl band who is out there being girls and being a band, and I kind of just like the idea of that. It is not like a classic 80s comic like all these other things that I've been trying to acquire, although it was previously published by DC Comics in 1999, so it is still a relatively old indie comic, and it's got a pretty cool pedigree because it's by Peter Badge and one of the Hernandez, Gilbert Hernandez. So I thought it'd be cool to I've never read it before, and so I just thought it'd be cool to check it out. And it's supposedly somewhat all ages and a cartoon version of the Go-Go's. Although to me it really reads as Josie and the Pussycats. So maybe it's something that I can give to Kid Crisis, because Kid Crisis is starting to really be into rock music. Oh, the other thing you missed that I did is last week, it was supposed to be in celebration for the triathlon, but of course the triathlon never happened. But we took a road trip to Auckland, New Zealand, which is about an 8-hour drive from here. A lot of driving to do by oneself. And we saw my favorite band in concert, Garbage. I had so much fun. They were incredible. I have not seen them since 2016. This is the first time they've been in New Zealand since 2013. They played pretty much all of the songs you would want them to play, including as their final encore. I'm only happy when it rains. I'm only happy when it's complicated. Anyway, so that was really fun, and it was so fun for Kid Crisis's first rock concert to be my favorite band. So I now, of course, she loves them too. So I also have an Epic collection here for Guardians of the Galaxy. We've gotten far enough now that we're into the Jim Valentino 1990s run. Weirdly, the book previous to this, Volume 2, just got the first 6 issues of that. So it had all the like classic Guardians, and then it has a jump into this Guardians 3000 because they're in the future. It's kind of Jim Valentino doing a Legion of Superheroes riff for Marvel. It's all been released in big fat proto-epic trades, maybe complete collections, I forget. I have a Guardians of the Galaxy guide, but now they're being re-released comprehensively in Epic, and I collect every Epic, so I got that. Okay, 3 kind of fun ones to wrap up here. We have DC Finest Green Lantern, and it's called Earth's Other Green Lantern because it is the introduction of Guy Gardner, clearly released here to tie in to a degree to the Superman movie. So this has Green Lantern comics from October 1965 through June 1968, which is Green Lantern 40 through 61. And I've never read any pre-1980 Green Lantern. And I have discovered, as I've been researching some guides for Crushing Crisis recently, I'm working on 2 right now that have a lot of Silver Age DC material. I actually need to go into the material and check it out. I love DC Silver Age artwork. I think I like it more than Marvel. I know the artists at DC were not as like well known as the Kirbys and the Ditkos that were at Marvel. So this is a lot, but I mean, they're beloved. There's a lot of Gardner Fox art Or no, wait, is he an artist? No. Gardner Fox writing, sorry. There's a lot of Carmine Infantino art. But yeah, I've discovered as I'm looking through all of these 60s books for the guides that I'm working on, I love DC in the 60s. Gil Kane or Jill Kane does a lot of this art actually. So certainly a classic artist, just not like revered by more casual fans as much as Kirby and Ditko and all the Marvel artists are. But I think I like DC art better. It's like more to my taste. It's just like a little bit more, I don't know how to describe it. So the more and more the DC is finally printing some of this Silver Age stuff in accessible paperbacks, I'm like getting more and more hype and realizing like, wow, actually, this is what I've always wanted. I've always wanted to be able to dig into DC's history and enjoy all these books and read stuff from this period. So I've also got, I realized I was missing one bit of Bloodstrike as I was making these orders, and this is Bloodstrike 2017. Or no, yeah, what is it? Bloodstrike 1 and 2. This might be the thing that I actually bought in floppy. Bloodstrike number 1 from, too small for me to read. I don't know. 2017, yeah. So I only have it because I have a sickness and I buy everything extreme. And I don't mean just extreme things. I mean things from Rob Liefeld's Extreme Comics, which means we're down to my last thing and I saved a pretty cool one for last one I'm very, very excited about because I have the original first appearance of this character and then I've never had a comprehensive collection of all of her works. And now finally I can read it. It is the first of several compendiums for Dark Horse's Ghost. Now, I have the original issue where she debuted as part of the World's Greatest Comics, which was this very cool 16-week event that Dark Horse did in the 1990s, where they debuted a different new superhero location every month. And within that location, they did 4 new heroes in that location to try to just do pilot episodes basically for them. And a few of those heroes took off, particularly Ghost, Barbed Wire, who you may know from the Pamela Anderson movie of the same name, and X, who's kind of Google F'd a little bit based on that name, considering how many things of X in comic books. But there were 16 groups of characters. Ghost is absolutely the one that spawned the most content, and this has a ton of her content. It has that original Ghost one-shot, her 3 specials, and then 36 issues of her first series. So this is a compendium, and this might be my first Dark Horse compendium. Pretty nice paper quality, really pleasant to touch. No creator credits at the start, but they do have creator credits on the inside of each issue. And Ghost famously was originally penciled by Adam Hughes, who really was not known for doing a lot of interiors, even back in the day. And so then we get into her series, which is written by Eric Luke, who also went on to write Wonder Woman, and it's also got pencils from Adam Hughes. So I guess a lot of this compendium is Adam Hughes pencils. Eric Luke keeps writing it. Now we're into pencils by Scott Benefell. I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold this up just because it's quite heavy and I can't use my opposite hand for it. But yeah, I'm just so excited to finally read it. It's never really been accessible. Now, something I immediately noticed about this, 2 things. First, if you look at the text block, it almost looks like it's a little indented there. Do you see that? And at first I was a little bit worried, like, because that seemed like a bad thing for the binding. But what it actually is the cover is already kind of pre-hinged. I don't know if you can see that. There you can. It's got a little hinge in it to make it not crease as much when you open it up, which is just something like it's a little imprintation that a machine would do in it. Now, where's one of my other compendiums that we've opened? If I pick out this top 10 compendium, it has it a little bit. I don't even know if you can see it, but it's almost like for show. Like the book doesn't actually open to there, and so the cover will crease. So I think that's really interesting on a book this big to actually do now the question is that going to eventually just loosen up and perforate and tear off? But it also seems like it's actually glued down a little bit there, so you can't actually open this whole first page that far. But then if you go a few pages in, it actually opens pretty far, and there's really not much gutter loss. So actually this feels pretty well constructed. It's got that slight bowing already to it that I'm worried about with the DC books, but it's a huge book. Now this was $60, which is like the standard compendium price point, and it is about 1,100 pages. I think they've already solicited a second one, and I believe there's going to be a third one. So I think we made it. So glad we made it. Look how far we've come now, baby. So you got some good lore. We've been through so many books, and I finally can get them on the shelves. Look at this. I'm surrounded by haul. This is so much haul that I filled up every spot around me with haul. So look, I'm so happy to be back and to be seen by all of you and to be able to be on the internet on a computer that works with a face and eyes that work with a hand that kind of works a little bit. So I don't know that I'm going to be back for regular shows before the new year. We're into summer here. I've got some final work to wrap up for the year. Kid Crisis is off from school already. And I've got a lot of doctor's appointments for all of this nonsense. So I don't know that I'm going to be back every Sunday, but maybe keep an eye out because I'm going to try to reclaim my Sunday time so that I'm known as the comic book streamer that is on at this time. Also, I do believe we're going to be doing a Near Mint Condition compendium show, and that will be a unusual time for me to be on Near Mint Condition. It will be on Friday evening. So please keep your eye out on Near Mint Condition for that. And otherwise, I don't have a lot to say. I've been working on Crushing Crisis, so if you've never been a Patreon before, I know I have been saying this since August, but I really think the Patreon subscription levels are going to get to be more expensive, so now would be the time to sign up for a year. And there's been a lot of new content over the past month, so a very cool time to sign up. And honestly, it was just such a relief knowing that, like, even though I couldn't be on or streaming or whatever, Crushing Crisis, it pays for itself. Like in that time, I had to do a domain renewal. I had to get a new plugin to do something on the back end with WordPress. And it's not lost on me that, like, I used to pay all of that stuff out of pocket every single time, and I was happy to, but I had to plan to pay for that, and now the Patreon pays for that. And anytime there's something wrong with Crushing Crisis, anytime it needs new RAM on the server, anytime it needs some new plugin to work, anytime I need to re-up a subscription to software that I use to, or to Marvel Unlimited or DC, because I'm using that to research. In fact, one of the guides I just did, I forget which one, I actually had to buy some digital comics. I had to buy books for the Stranger Thing guide. I had to buy a couple of Stranger Things books to go through them for information on the guide, and Patreon takes care of all that, and it is a great blessing. Especially, I mean, I went through a couple weeks that I had to take time off work because I couldn't even use my laptop, and Patreon still exists. So I'm so thankful for that. If you're somebody who contributes, it really means a lot, and I try to bring you tons of content, both public and private, that will make it worthwhile. So I will see you all in Near Mint Condition on Friday evening. Perhaps I will be back next Sunday with more. I don't know, TBD. And until I see you again, I just want to remind you, everybody has their place in this world, and we can all accept and love each other and hear each other's opinions. Unless somebody else's opinion is about our oppression or the oppression of somebody else, that's not an opinion, that's hate. So we're going to reject that. It's something very real for me in New Zealand at this moment. A friend of mine is going through some major hate that people are just posing as their opinions, and that is some bullshit. So whether it's about the rights of queer people, trans people, whether it's about the rights of black and brown people, whether it's about the rights of immigrants, of women, of kids, can we just please try to go out there in the world and swing hard at people that have hatred disguised as opinions, and say that we're here to try to accept and make everybody equal? If you take any energy from me and me being back finally on the show, aside from the energy to get excited about all these comics, I hope you take that energy away, because that's the whole reason I'm on the internet. I'm on the internet because I felt like I was not hearing enough people say those words integrated into their streams. Like they were maybe doing one little blackout for Black Lives Matter. They were saying like trans rights one time, but I just want to see more content creators in every space: comics, politics, drag. Well, drag, they're already saying these things. I want to see people who are just woven throughout all their opinions and who challenge their audience to find more ways to be accepting all the time. I'm not saying to you to be the perfect, most accepting, wokest, leftist person on earth, but if I can just pull you a little bit more in that direction with this reminder at the end of every stream, then that's the real reason that I'm on video right now, and not just doing comic guides that lack all this wonderful personality and face. So please go out into the world and spread love and acceptance and challenge people who are not offering that same level of acceptance. And I hope you do that until the next time I see you. And I hope what you don't have until the next time I see you is a crisis. Unless, of course, somewhere in this great wide world of the internet, you encounter me. And until next time, I hope you're all very, very well.